have to resort to summoning them to appear before the PAAC. This is one of the most important oversight committees of Parliament. And I would remind them that in our Westminster system, the Parliament is part of the government. There are three branches of government. There's the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And they shouldn't think that this branch of government can just be ignored, because we have very important oversight responsibilities. And this committee, particularly when it comes to the expenditure of funds, and JPS, as was highlighted in our work on the supplementary estimates last week and yesterday at the Standing Finance Committee, is a major beneficiary of a huge $24 billion loan funded by taxpayers. And our taxpayers deserve an opportunity to hear from the JPS directly, not just in a way where they can do a PR media kind of appearance, but where they can be interrogated by the elected representatives of the people who are on this committee. So hopefully a word to the wise is sufficient. I was in touch with their manager of government relations and expressed my disappointment that for a second week in a row they were not attending. And I gave them the opportunity to tell us when they would be available in January when we recommence. They suggested January the 28th, which was sort of the final Wednesday in January. I don't know if members are minded to accept that, or we would want to insist on an earlier date. Let me pause at this time and canvass the committee members. Mr. Newell?
Chairman, based on the level of interest certainly from my constituency, where we're one of the least affected constituencies, but I'm still getting calls daily from people who want to know when they can expect that their electricity will be restored. I think the 28th of January is a long time to wait to have that conversation. So my vote is in favor of an earlier date.
All right, I think the 14th is a Wednesday. We'll give it, not say the first Wednesday in January, because people will still be getting over the Christmas holidays and so on. So we will invite them for the 14th. Just to complete on this issue, this has implications beyond just Hurricane Melissa recovery. We're talking about, well, the minister stated that the government may have to take over if they can't come to some negotiated agreement. And we don't want to take over a transmission and distribution system that is going to be in a commercial death spiral, because that means that it's the taxpayers of this country, not just the ratepayers, but all taxpayers, who would then have to be subsidizing this takeover, repurchase, and operation going forward. So to my mind, this is a critical policy issue. It is a critical fiscal issue, and certainly it is one that is deserving of the scrutiny and attention and deliberations of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee. So Clark, the committee has directed that you invite the JPS for Wednesday the 14th, and that you will make arrangements for our committee to have the chamber for that day.
Yes, already done.
Yes, Mr. Clark.
Is it that you are taking it on as a chairman?
No, I asked the committee.
No, you asked one person.
Okay, do you have an alternative suggestion?
I thought you said you were going to canvass the committee, so I was waiting. Sorry.
But I didn't see your mic. You had pressed the mic.
So I apologize for that. but I still would want to go with the 28th that they're giving us because they come in here on the 14th. We may very well have all the questions in the world to ask them, but they don't have the answer to give. So
today being the what, 10th? Today being the 10th, we're giving them over a month further, and this is after
Check.
we started 2 weeks ago, two invitations ago.
I heard earlier one of the members mention the name mathematician. So check it.
The name
all
what?
Mathematician.
No,
But I still would want to go with the
all right.
20.
So you are suggesting that we go with their 28th. Other members, Mr. Newell suggests, Ms. Burchell.
That Jamaica is waiting for some answers from the JPS. We saw yesterday very well in the House when we retired for the Standing Finance Committee that the Minister of Finance could not answer many questions on behalf of the Jamaica Public Service. Since last week, I've gotten a number of questions from constituents, from Jamaicans generally, that only the JPS at this point can respond to. If we push it further in January, we risk the people getting very upset with us for not holding them accountable. We need some answers at the 10th. If they need more time, then they can come back the next week and the following week. But the 10th is time
The
enough.
14th,
Time
the
enough
14th,
for the
the
14th is
14th.
time enough for the people to get answers from JPS.
Mr. Forgive me at my age, I'm getting accustomed to names.
Yes, sir. I'm recommending the 28th as well.
Okay. All right, so we seem to have 2 dates, the 14th and the 20th. Mr. Hines?
Yeah, morning, Mr. Chairman. The 14th seems suitable for me. I think we have a lot of Jamaicans that are waiting for answers. My own constituents are bombarding me with
Mr.
phone
Crawford,
calls.
could you find out, the 14th or the 28th? Could you just turn on your mic so that it can be recorded for the...
14th, I vote 14th.
Mr. Newell?
Chairman, I just want to know whether in that letter that we're going to send, whether we will remind them of the power to summons. Because if they've, on 2 occasions, not shown up, I think we probably should, even while giving them the option, but just remind them of the...
Well, somehow I think in their monitoring of the proceeds of Parliament, of the proceedings of Parliament and the media, the message will be received. So the committee is 5-2 for the 14th. So please go ahead and proceed to invite them for the 14th. All right. So now we turn to the Office of the Prime Minister. I understand you had, although you were third in a row, you had asked that you be accommodated. I have so many times Ambassador, General, PS, General. We were General in my day. That was how I generally referred to you. How do you prefer to be addressed? Rocky. Okay. So you know the routine. Yes, and just introduce quickly the key members of your team. Yeah, I see you have quite a large. You can just the key members of the team, and then you had promised to give us an update this month. We'd spent some extensive time a month ago, 3-4 weeks ago, and you had promised us an update before the Christmas. So we look forward to you giving an overview on that, and both yourself and the director of ODPEM. So, and as I understand, ODPEM has a sort of broad umbrella responsibility. So even the ministries, departments, agencies that may not be present, we would expect that we could hear from ODPEM, or ODPEM could field any questions in that regard. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Chairman, members. And Chair, thank you for the opportunity for this follow-up to give an update to the country on how we are progressing. if I could introduce my team, Chair. I'm the PS in the Office of the Prime Minister. With me from OPM, Chief Technical Director Hemmings Allison. I have Brigadier Lloyd seconded to the ministry as the CTD Defense. I have Colonel Price, who is a Principal Director, also seconded, assisting both with strategic initiatives and oversight of the continuity of governance and disaster role. From ODPEM, we have Commander Gale, the Director General, Michelle Edwards, the Senior Director Mitigation, Sophia Mitchell, Senior Director Preparedness. From NHT, because there was a question specifically for NHT, the Managing Director is here himself, Mr. Martin Miller, supported by Mr. Brian Saunders, Senior General Manager. From the JDF, we have Lieutenant Colonel Nadine Notice, as they assist significantly with the logistics and will be assisting with the rebuilding effort. Chair, members, the issues that were raised and that we promised to follow up on cover a number of MDAs, and that's the reason we have the wide team we have here. I should note that the MLSS, although there are questions relevant to them, they were not advised of the meeting, and and PS had a press conference this morning, so she asked that if she could be excused on this occasion, but would be prepared to appear at your next convenience to address the questions. As you said, Chair, the ODPEM has some sense of what other MDAs are doing and probably can give some indication, but we'd certainly want to allow the PS for the ministry to have the opportunity to go into the more intricate details, if you would allow that opportunity when PS Jennings is available. We are at a stage now, Chair, where we are looking hopefully definitively before the new year to pivot the way the effort is going. So as I would have mentioned the last time, we necessarily needed to use quick emergency type procedures to get relief to the country, heavily focused on food, because of course if people are hungry, they'll be less concerned about getting wet. But now that we have done that quite a bit, as I indicated the last time, we're hoping, hopefully before the new year, to have a change in how we assist the country in two ways. One, we want to give more purchasing power to those who are in need, so that as the businesses come back up, they can actually get the things they want and not just a package that we assume that might be, and they may have too much of one thing and not something else. So we're hoping to put purchasing power in their hands. The details of that is being worked out by the MLSS. So they are looking at what I will loosely call a voucher system, but it doesn't necessarily mean a piece of paper that has the word voucher on it. It's really putting purchasing power in the hands of citizens. And we have had some meetings on how that could work. And the details of that are also being worked out. The MLSS will also be providing the guidance on the needs list and the priority of needs of who should get that sort of support. But we're hoping to pivot to that sort of modality of providing relief by the new year. We're also going to refocus.
I just want to pin you down on that because, no, don't turn off your mic. The last time we heard about this broad voucher system, but again, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, the Prime Minister made a statement to Parliament on it. And it was in his text, there was a mention of the voucher system. But he also spoke it could be a digital kind of card or something like that. But you know, another couple of weeks have gone, and we're still at the very vague stage. You know, we should be transitioning now, or certainly by January, to that. So I would have expected a little greater detail or specifics, at least what you are exploring.
Sure.
Go
Chair,
ahead.
there is indeed more detail. But in fairness to my colleague PS, as I said, she and her team has really worked on this. They made a presentation recently to Prime Minister on the concept. He asked them to tweak a couple of things. And I would really, if you don't mind, Chair, defer to my colleague PS Jennings to provide those details. It's her team that works on it. But I can assure you there have been progress and they have a product, but for some tweaks that will be ready to roll out.
In January.
I'm reasonably confident that by the new year, we'll be able to, roll something out. But I really would want to defer to my colleague. She did the work on that, Chair. Thank you so much. Also, Chair, as a part of the focus on rebuilding, you would have heard mention of the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority. The PM actually mentioned this publicly before. We're still working on the details. The idea is to have a body with special powers that can expedite the major rebuilding process we're going to have while being compliant, but nonetheless pulling all the MDAs together to expedite that. And to note, Chair, that as the PM would have mentioned, this is not unusual either generally worldwide or even in Jamaica. After Hurricane Ivan, PM Pattis put in place Office of National Reconstruction, and we're looking to build on that, good effort and to have the NARA with similar powers and, to, as I said, to be compliant, be transparent, but find a way to expedite processes that normally hold things up. The NHT has a significant role, and the chairman, when you allow, Mr. Chairman, the managing director will speak to his specific role. There is a concern about how much funds are being dedicated to the rebuilding process. There is some monies put in the supplementary budget, but in addition to that, and the Director General might elaborate when I hand over to him, approval has been given for the Support Jamaica funds, which is really getting close to $1 billion now, to be dedicated to roof repairs primarily and other initial part of the reconstruction effort. So those will be additional funds to what was put in the supplementary. There was also a question, Chair, which I'll address about the role of the members of Parliament. I'd like to say with that, Chair, that you may be minded to ask the Ministry of Local Government to give a little more detail on that. But what I can say is that the approach we have been taken is to engage the members of Parliament as much as we can. There are some members of Parliament that lean forward and ask about, support for their constituencies and other areas they're interested in. And generally speaking, I think we have been able to provide that support. And, funding was provided just before Melissa and just after, right across the board for that. But as I said, I think the Ministry of Local Government might be able to give a little more detail as to how the constituencies and the municipalities are engaged in the process. Just to remind you as well, Chair, that the National Natural Disaster and Recovery Fund that has the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Funds and other contingency funds are now quite significant and are available as a part of the effort. So, Chair, if unless you have any specific questions for me with the overview, I would love to hand over now to the Director General to go into some more specifics of some of the raised and questions, and then if you would allow as well, Chair, after him, the Managing Director NHC to address the questions that are within his portfolio. But I remain available to address any issues that you may want to direct at me, Director.
Sure, thank you, PS. Commander, just in terms of your presentation, PS said that, you know, your office responds to MPs who lean forward. But could you address just an ongoing communication? Because while some MPs were more and some less affected, or their constituency, I think everybody has an interest in what is happening in their own constituency, not just those most severely affected, but those moderately affected and so on. So just in terms of your address, if you could say, what is the provision for communication with members of parliament on an ongoing basis with all members of parliament?
Morning, Chair. Morning to the rest of the committee. Substantively, I believe the PS might have covered some significant points. I will lean into the questions and answers submitted, but I'll just address the point concerning the engagement with MPs. So by and large, it has been that for the MLSS, the ODPEM, and the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, rather, that MPs have sought to reach out to us. We've adopted that mechanism, and when they have reached out, there's a mechanism by which we triage the request. Once it is in keeping with the needs having been analyzed between our
I
three
wasn't
parties.
so much talking about specific requests for assistance. I'm just
But in
talking
terms of-
for keeping us abreast of what is going on. So, for example, I have sent hundreds of names and addresses of persons who had roof damage to the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. But I don't know what happens to that after. It just goes into our information black hole. And, you know, I really would appreciate hearing from the ministry, whether it's the Ministry of Labour and Social Security or ODPEM or somebody. Here's a newsletter. We've received applications or requests for assistance for 500 people. We have done our independent assessment of 300. We anticipate we will be able to help 100 in the next month. Something along those broad lines I'm speaking, not so much the particular request.
Clear then. This clear my mind then. But so what I'll do, I'll seek to cause when we have the HAC committee meetings to kind of spin up that mechanism within the various agents. What I can say, for example, within the ODPEM, once we get the request, we do respond. Albeit, you know, there's a multiplicity of requests, we do respond to the emails in that sort of a manner. Or, as the case in some instances, refer the requests to partner agencies who it will be more aligned with what they are doing versus what the ODPEM is doing. So that process is in place at the ODPEM. And I'll just see to the Humanitarian Assistance Committee to ensure that the other agencies are triaging the matters in a more timely manner. So I'll go from there. The pertinent to the matters in the submitted questions, what I'll indicate that as of today, some 101 emergency shelters remain active, currently across 7 parishes, with just 1,061 individuals being housed in those parishes. The parishes of St. Catherine and Clarendon have no persons in occupancy. Manchester, there's 1 shelter, 2 occupants. St. Elizabeth, 23 shelters, 191 persons housed. Westmoreland continues to be leading the pack in terms of number of shelters and number of persons within shelters. So we currently in Westmoreland some 32 shelters open with just about 522 persons being housed in shelters. St. James is the next largest holding with some 26 shelters activated and just about 135 persons in shelters. Trelawney is the only other, St. Elizabeth, 23 shelters, already mentioned that one. So St. Trelawney is the only other parish with over 100 persons within shelters, i.e. 7 shelters and 121 occupants. So work continues through the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development to triage those holdings, looking at the immediate shelter requirements and other matters to have persons relocated from the shelters. In response to the matters concerning the worst impacted housing and how many matters of tarpaulin, zinc, wood, and other such items, no wood items that have been distributed thus far. In response to the widespread housing damage caused by Melissa, The ODPEM has continued to coordinate the distribution of shelter equipment, shelter repair, bedding supplies to the affected communities. As of last evening, we would have issued just about 40,000 emergency shelter-related items. Now, these items are broken down: tarpaulins, shelter repair kits, plastic sheeting, tents, cots, blankets. Those that have been issued from our stores. It is pertinent to observe as well that we have not been issuing yet construction material. The procurement process for that is underway as we transition to the early recovery phase. What I'll also indicate is that the ODPEM has received into its warehouse some 27,000 board measures of lumber and some 1,300 sheets of zinc from the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Now, this is pertinent to the repair work being undertaken by the Guyanese Defense Force Corps of Engineers, who are working alongside the Jamaica Defense Force team out in Westmoreland. Now, there are ongoing discussions between the Jamaica Defense Force, the ODPEM, and several other militaries, to include Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Barbados, to have more engineer teams dispatched into Jamaica to assist with the repairing of roofs. The roofs that will be chosen for repair will be a direct outcome of the JH Dyna assessments now being conducted by the MLSS with their band of support in doing that on the ground. To date, they have done just about 40,000 assessments, and if we cast our minds back to the matter concerned, just about 90,000 households displayed. At the 40,000 level, we do have a critical mass of assessments done. So we are proceeding now at pace for the procurement, using the funds as mentioned earlier, i.e. those needed to support Jamaica to procure repair material. We are also prospecting, based on discussions between ourselves and JDF and the other teams, to have maybe just over 350 soldiers, engineer types, come into country to assist the JDF with laying
just
out
a
these
point
repairs.
of clarification. You said you are about to start to procure construction
The
materials.
procurement process is underway.
I'm just trying to understand the same. PS just said they want to move from giving out material in terms of the food packages he was talking about at that time to giving cash. Wouldn't it be much more efficient to, give cash or give a credit at a hardware, a local hardware? This would be putting back some, contributing to the economic activity in the community. There just seems to be a disjointed approach. On the one hand, you're saying it's important to give people the choice and give them, empower them, give them support their agency in their own recovery by giving them cash. And then on the other hand, now you're talking about you going through a procurement process for materials where you will be issuing them materials. So I just need a clarification. Is that material solely for what the JDF and the other military engineering units will be putting up, or is that material for general distribution?
No, so this is solely to cause the work of the JDF and the other teams to get underway.
Okay.
And this is also tied into the assessments being done out of the MLSS. So it's a multi-pronged approach, and the assessments will drive the issuing of grants, issuing of vouchers, and also to determine whose homes get repaired. So that's where we are with that particular, that question.
I just wanted that clarification because it seemed at first a bit inconsistent.
I transport that chair. So the work of the guys has already started, and the team. So the materials I mentioned earlier, they are out at the Ford operating base in St. Elizabeth, and the Guyanese team is now working out in the White House and Bluefields area. That work has commenced at good pace. Regarding matters of soup kitchens across the country, we have a food assistance working group. So we have just about 32 partners from across all sectors of government and also NGO teams on board, on the ground in Jamaica. They're operating just about 3 central hubs, and they're utilizing just over 50 restaurants to make do in terms of kitchens or kitchenettes around the distribution pipeline. Overall, they're producing just about 100,000 meals per day at peak. We've had up to just about 125,000 meals in other instances. What the food assistance working group has been able to do is over time deliver food packages and hot meals, targeting just about 314,000 persons that benefit from that across 379 communities. In total, there have also been the delivery of 112,000 food kits. These are large food kits lasting just about a week for a family of 4. Let me just get back to the documentation here. So just over another 233,000 people have been affected or been benefiting from that process. Also, just over 3.3 million hot meals themselves have been cooked and delivered to just over 190,000 persons. The response has a significant breakdown in there, primarily just over the period since we've had these kitchens going. Over 1 million meals have gone into Westmoreland, which is the highest recipient, followed by St. Elizabeth, almost 900,000, St. James, just over 700,000, and Hanover, just over 138,000 meals have gone in to those systems, or those parishes rather. In terms of care packages that have been delivered through the GOJ system, just over 340,000 care packages have been delivered to date, primarily through the ODPEM, just about 99,000, and the remainder is about 242 plus thousand delivered by the JDF and MLSS. The JDF, they're supporting the MLSS in their last mile deliveries. The JDF has also been robust supporting the ODPEM delivery in the same breath. When we look at the spend from the ODPEM, just about $80 million has been spent on food care packages since Hurricane Melissa affected the island. Just about another $50 million has been spent on haulage out of our large stores to get distribution to the last mile. What I'll indicate though, the figure itself seems rather low. But if we cast our mind back to the days just before the hurricane hit and the days in the immediate passing, a lot of our international partners would have been able to pledge, and ships would have been on their way here even before the hurricane affected us, and a lot of food items would have come in. So just by being judicious with the funding, we've been able to cause most of the funding to go in on the back end and utilize the food items which are coming in. Want to avoid waste and just to be more judicious with the funding. And also we expect that as our partners start to wind down their operations, then the spending from the ODPEM and the MSS will significantly increase just before the moments where we are transitioning now into cash and cash grants. So that will, by our next report, just before we transition into the cash grants, we will expect to see an increase in the amount of spending from the government organizations. I'll also indicate that primarily,
Again, clarification, the 50 million haulage is not just
Not
with respect
just
to the
food.
80 million, but respect to the
To-
in-kind food contributions.
all non-food items and food items coming out of the main stores in Kingston, then down to the distribution hubs in the remaining parishes. What I'll also indicate is that the ODPEM will spend less than the MLSS, who has the greater charge as it concerns procuring food items. They will, when they come discuss their own figure, but they would have spent significantly more than the ODPEM in causing food packages to be procured and delivered into various spaces. And I'll leave the comments there for now, Chair, pending your questions.
All right, thank you, Commander. I believe you said the NHT. Yes, just a summary, and then we'll ask the questions.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, committee members. The question was asked, how many applications for grants we received. To date, we would have received 667.
Just point the mic more directly at your, yes.
Right. Yes, sorry. So to date, we would have received 667. Now, the grants are slow coming in, so what we have done is that we have split into several teams, and they are out there in the community. So we expect that we will see a significant increase over the next week or so. The other question was how many loans were applied for. Most of the customers that we're seeing, their indication is that they have no interest in the loan. Their preference is for a grant. So we would have received 7 applications for loans, which we are processing. During assessing the applications for grants based on income and the individual circumstances, there are 11 applications that we thought could access and service a loan.
Right. Now, just clarification. This is from the universe of NHT mortgages or persons with NHT mortgages, or is this open to persons applying for new NHT contributors who would be applying for a mortgage for the first time?
It's open to all contributors, and it goes beyond just contributors, because what we have done is that we put in place provision for immediate family members to apply for the loans on behalf of their parent or other.
Okay, so this is a NHT, this is a relief and recovery initiative that's open to all Jamaicans, not just NHT contributors or those who already have mortgages.
Correct, Chairman.
Okay.
And it is what we saw when we went to communities, for example, out in Falmouth Gardens. One of the complaints that we lost our roof during burial, so we want to change from a timber arrangement to a slab arrangement. So this loan is also available for that purpose. You also have cases where these persons would not have had any insurance coverage, and therefore the loan is available to those persons. Again, the grant is also available because you will appreciate that not everyone can service a loan.
How many NHT mortgages do you have at this time? How many homes out there are financed active NHT mortgages?
Just focusing on the 7 main parishes, we were looking at just over 20,000. But the structure of the portfolio is what we have a combination of scheme development, open market, build and own land, and those tend to be scattered right across the parishes. So it's a little bit more challenging to track those, whereas we can go into a scheme and we spend a day or two in the scheme and just focus on those.
That's the NHT scheme.
That's the NHT scheme, or not just NHT scheme, but government development or developments that we would have partnered with other entities.
Okay. So those numbers seem a bit small to me, but I imagine that the NHG requires all the customers who have mortgages to insure. So they would have insurance in the case of damages to their homes, I imagine. So they would not have to rely on, in the main, on a sort of special charitable mechanism to assist them.
Agreed, Chair. So as of yesterday, we would have received what we refer to as notification, which is where persons would have indicated to us that they are going to supply insurance claim. and we receive such notification 1,567. In terms of those who would have completed their claims, returned the claims with all the relevant documents to include estimates, evidence of damages, and so forth, we received a total of 357 with a preliminary estimate of about $823 million. And those, we are going through the process now jointly with the external assessors appointed by the brokers insurance company. Plus, we have entered into an arrangement to allow for the brokers, for NHD project officers to assist in the process of doing the assessment and also conducting the review. We commence payment in terms of insurance settlement. As you know, our insurance arrangement is one where a portion of the portfolio is self-insured. So those will be moving at a fast pace. So far, I know that we would have submitted a few for payment in finance, and we expect that by the next 2 weeks or so, we will see a large portion of the 357 coming through. For
Just say a little bit more about that self-insurance fund that
Right.
NHT operates. What's the size of it? What percentage of your mortgages are covered by that?
Right. So our total portfolio, if you were to look on it, is in excess of 400 billion Jamaican dollars. Now, the approach that we've used is to look at areas where we have high concentration. So St. Catherine, Portmore, Kingston, and St. Andrew, we tend to have close to 70% of the portfolio. Out in Clarendon, that is increasing. But then again, the mix in Clarendon is a little bit different in terms of housing type, structure, and so forth. The insurance arrangement is that for the first 40 million US dollars, that risk is carried by NHD. So what we have done is that we identify $40 million worth of US investment, put that in a pool, and then the next 300 is carried by the insurance company. So we'll clear the first 40 million US from NHD funding, and then any amount above that, we will then pull on the insurance
So in
company.
terms of your group plan, that 40 million is like the deductible, so to speak. If you were to, if it was analogous to an individual, they have a deductible that the first $1 million or $500,000 or whatever loss is borne by the insured.
It's borne by
And then
NHD.
above that, it's
Then above that is
right.
is
Okay.
the insurance company. That is not to say that there isn't further deductible for the customer. And just to add, this arrangement of 40 million US would have helped us it's close to 20 years, maybe about 22 years or so. We started out at about 10 million and gradually we increased it. And that's one of the strategies that we have used to ensure that the insurance premium, the rates
Right.
are...
because the higher the
at a certain level.
deductible, the lower the premiums, the annual premiums.
Yes, Chairman.
Okay. All right. If there is nothing else that you want to, then I will now invite questions generally. I have one question which I will lead off with, but I ask members to indicate their coming back to the ODPEM presentation. 80 million cost in food packages and 50 million cost in towards distribution. I would tell you that as a member of parliament, and I guess I'll categorize my constituency as moderately affected. One of the challenges we've had with the government programs is that it hasn't provided for transportation of whether care packages, building materials, etc. And I've tried to explain to the Ministry of Housing that when you say there's a grant for 100,000 to somebody, and let us say it is at a hardware in Mandeville, and the person, the beneficiary, lives in Plowden, so that 100,000, well, a portion of it goes to GCT right away, so that reduces it to 80-something thousand, and then the transportation of the building materials could be $30,000. So further reduces the value, the realizable value. And by the way, they can't use, there's no provision for transportation, even within that, say, $100,000 grant. And I think, we really need to look at that. Because if just the government's own experience, and I can tell you, I'm sure every MP here, sometimes the cost, people contribute free goods, and the cost of, they tell you it's free in Kingston, but then to transport it to Manchester or St. James or Westmoreland, sometimes is more, it can be even more than the value of the goods. So that's one of the challenges, and I don't think the government has fully appreciated, or let me say some agencies or departments of government has fully appreciated that just material by itself or goods by itself without a means to distribute, as you said, that last mile, is very challenging. And I think we need to take it into our policy formulations, and transportation one, even the field work required. I've had teams in the field doing the geotagging, I think it was called, days and days, over wide areas, and somebody has to finance that. You have staff, you have vehicle to transport them, etc., and all of that now is left to the MP to provide that. So I think we need to. I would just commend that to the policymakers to consider. I had earlier seen Mr. Clark. His mic went off, but in fairness, I think he was the original first one to have turned on his mic. And then Mr. Newell and Mr. Hines, and then Mr. Crawford. Go ahead. Go ahead now, Mr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to make a comment then, but I realized that you went by, so I just turned off the mic. But in truth and in fact, Mr. Chairman, I share some of the sentiments that you're expressing. One, I want to go back to the comment made that it can either be cash or a digital card. At this time, Mr. Chairman, I would encourage us as best as possible, the government, not to go down the road of cash to the recipient, because, Mr. Chairman, that money at this time, even though it is slated to do repairs, I can tell you it will use as something else, and it will come right back at the feet of you as an MP and me as an MP, provide for the same thing that they would have gotten the money for. So I would suggest that they look at going, whether they are going to find a small hardware within the communities, and make the funds available to them and it distributed to the people. Also, Mr. Chairman, we understand that we are in the state of devastation, and so for the building material that is going to be dispersed to persons who are to receive it, that the government find a way to remove the GCT so you get more out of the dollar. As it relates to the transportation, I don't know how well we can work that. but the government can remove the GCT on that amount. So it gives the dollar a greater value.
Thank you. It's a good suggestion, but it's now not accommodated by the Ministry of Housing. And what they actually do is that they don't transfer the GCT component to the hardwares. They just give them a certificate to acknowledge that they've, like a credit for as part of their returns to the General Consumption Tax Commissioner, but they don't actually remit that cash to the hardware. So if this hardware is to supply 4 million, what they get is 4 million less the GCT, but the GCT is taken into account in the 4 million that's allocated to the constituency. All right, Mr. Newell.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, PS and team. Just a few questions. So I'm seeing 1,061 occupants still in shelters, and based on the supplementary estimates, we're purchasing a number of containerized units. I want to get an understanding of how you will prioritize for those containerized units, how you'll prioritize the distribution of them, and whether, because oftentimes when government has housing programs, there is the question of tenure, land tenure. And I know, for example, the social housing program requires you to either have title or permission from someone with title. But the reality in Westmoreland, as we've been told, is that, and St. Elizabeth, is that a lot of people there are not owners of the land or don't have title readily. So I want to get an understanding of that. That's one. Second question is for the National Housing Trust. Well, the next set of questions. The housing grant, $500,000. What is the deadline for application, and what is the budget internally for that? I imagine you would have some limitations in terms of how much you're prepared to disburse. Have you noted any change in, and it's based on an ongoing discussion we've been having about electricity, have you noticed any change in applications for your solar loans since the Hurricane Melissa? And similarly, did you notice any uptick post-burial? If you don't have the answers now, you could share with us. Are you providing any relief to your mortgages who have been, apart from the loan, the additional loan, and the grant, is there any moratorium on mortgages or that they can apply for? In terms of the Ruthven Towers, which was in the media a whole lot, can you give us an update on that? Was it affected during Hurricane Melissa? Has any work been done to bring it to a condition, to fix the issues that have been reported? NHT housing schemes are built to withstand a category what hurricane and what level earthquake? Disclosure, Chairman, in the past, my first job was at NHT. And I recall when this whole business of risk management became popular in Jamaica, NHT trained a staff member and hired as a risk manager, which was one of the first entities that I was familiar with that did that. Climate change is now an existential issue, crisis. Do you have any climate expert on staff, and are these things considered when you are building a housing unit? Final question relates to your capital budget. In the supplementary, a number of agencies, executive agencies, a number of public bodies were spending below what they had budgeted in terms of capital. Is NHT one such body? And if it is, what are the steps NHT is putting in place to, because even though my senior will tell me, speak to my constituency, I have the housing demand survey, the NHT housing demand survey for St. Mary. I suspect I can speak for the parish. And it says the demand for housing is over 2,000 units, but I'm not able to recall when outside of Nashville, I think Nashville may have been the last development which was a dent in terms of the demand for housing in the parish. So the capital budget, there being an underspend in the capital budget, I want to know what steps are being put in place to have that rectified. Thank you.
PS, you want to address it?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to comment on the first question, if I may, member, and then I hand over to NHT. So with respect to how prioritization will be done for the rapid construction units specifically and other aspects of the rebuilding process, MLSS was specifically asked to lead the assessment and then based on their experience in that area to make recommendations. Certainly, their interest as far as I'm aware that they would want to look at the most vulnerable, most vulnerable and badly affected. So you're probably talking about the elderly, disabled, the people that they would normally be concerned about who are also affected. But again, I would ask if you could allow my colleague PS to give details of that when you have a chance to speak with her. I also know,
but there was also an element about the shelters, and ODPEM is managing the shelters, as I understand it. Is ODPEM managing the shelters? I just want to confirm.
I'm sorry.
Well, there's some caution oversight here, but squarely no, it is rests with the local government.
So immediately before the storm, it's ODPEM, and then afterwards it's handed over to the local government. Okay.
Indeed, Chair.
So I guess what I understood, part of what I understood Mr. Newell to be asking is, in order to get these 1,000-odd persons out of what is typically schools, to allow schools, if there would be some prioritization of those persons in the access to these to this new.
Just a related point, Chair, is the issue of land tenure. Because,
Right, because
if
if
it
you
is
don't
that
have the land-
if it is that the mobility of housing in Westmoreland is caused by no tenure, then it would stand to argue that people who have been badly affected and have nowhere to go may not have ownership of land. So if tenure continues to be a part of the requirement, then I want to know how we will ensure that they are able to benefit from.
Well, I don't know if it's ownership only, but it's some security
Yes.
of tenure. So back to you. Yes.
Thank you so much. This is an issue that is being considered because one of the things we have to look at for the rebuilding is where you have had significant devastation is whether you encourage rebuilding in those same vulnerable areas or whether the government looks at land that it has control over and seek to encourage relocation. So those are some issues still being worked on. But as we hand over to NHT, maybe the MD...
But before you hand over to NHTPS, I just want to be clear because these units are expected to arrive in either January or February, depending on which of the week, the projections. They're projected to arrive that quickly. So we don't have a lot of time to take a look at this. So you're saying there is not yet concrete policy decision in terms of how they will be treated with.
So, Chair, member, I think we have a legal obligation to ensure that we're not encouraging citizens to be on land for which they have no rights. We could be subject to lawsuits, etc., if there is some evidence that the land actually belongs to someone else. So, as much as we would like to just facilitate persons based on their word, we do have a legal obligation for some due diligence. So I would say where the question of tenure is where there's no question, I think we could expedite this question, then at other ways to facilitate. And that's why I'm saying that we're not averse to looking at a possibility, especially where relocation should be encouraged, that the government, with the support of the NHT, for example, would look at land that the government has positive control over and seek to encourage. For example, we might say to a citizen, you have total destruction. We're going to give you a unit, but we're going to place the unit on this piece of land. that we can verify the ownership because it's NHC or whoever land, and are you willing to accept this unit on this new piece of land, and then we secure your tenure. It may be irresponsible, member, if you'd agree with me, if we have doubts about the ownership of the land, and just on the word of an affected citizen, we go and place something there. I don't know that legally we would stand on good
so
ground.
let us be clear. I'm trying to understand what we're doing with these 1,061 people who are in the shelter, the hurricane having passed on the 28th of October. And so I'm trying to get an understanding of the policy considerations and discussions that are taking place to ensure this. But I also wanted to insert my understanding of the reality in the space. So if the response is that you're looking at government land and that is a possibility in terms of locating them, then that is one policy discussion that you're saying is taking place. So I'm trying to be clear. I'm making no suggestion. I'm asking questions.
Sure.
So I can get a better understanding. Then we may make suggestions after we get the better understanding.
Thank you, member. And we certainly would appreciate any advice that can be provided. It is a priority to get the shelters repurposed for their primary purpose. That's a priority. And where there are clear-cut cases that we can relocate people and get people out of the shelters, that will be dealt with. Where we run into challenges in satisfying some of the issues like land tenure, that may take a little bit longer, but it is a priority to get persons out of the shelter. And I'm sure when my colleague from education speaks, she will highlight how important and the pressure she's putting on us to the shelters repurposed for their proper dedicated purpose.
Final follow-up, and I'll leave it after.
Members,
Yeah,
let me
I
just
promise.
remind you, we had opium before.
Yeah.
We have not had education. And I really don't want this to be another 7-hour sitting.
Understood.
So I want to quickly remember the update largely from opium and ODPEM. I would like to leave substantial time for education, and I don't plan to go beyond lunch. Which is 1 o'clock. So
I won't be long,
please-
Chairman.
Eh?
Just a quick follow-up.
So it's just I'm asking you to be economic with the number of questions and also the length of the question.
In terms of your future update space, when do you think you will be able to tell us what the plan is, the concrete plan for this 1,061? Hopefully, by then it will be a much reduced number.
All right. So,
We will get back. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, could you put up? No, you have to press for a request on your mic. Just as you respond to Mr. Newell's questions, I just put a rider that you mentioned about converting zinc and lumber to decked roof. As I can't sit here as a trained engineer and not warn about you might be solving one problem and creating another one, because most zinc and lumber roof houses do not have the walls needed to bear the additional load. So you might be making them stronger for hurricane and making them more vulnerable to earthquake. So please ensure that that's the first instinct I hear from a lot of my constituents, especially ones who are in the second round of loss of zinc roof. But a house that was not constructed or designed to be additional of a deck roof or slab, you're putting them at serious risk in terms of earthquake. But go ahead.
All right. And thanks to the chairman. And let me assure you that a part of our assessment will include us satisfying ourselves that we have taken.
That the structure can bear that additional load or that additional stiffness are put in, etc.
Yes, that'll be a part of it. So I may have missed some of the questions, and I rely on my colleague here to assist. But I'll start out with the deadline as it relates to the grants. And we are looking at by January 31st, but that is not to say that we are not prepared to extend. We have a deadline for applications for insurance. What we tend to do is to look at that point, because some of these things are set based on policy, and then we ask for an extension depending on what the realities are. The expenditure in the first place, we are looking at about $1.2 billion. Again,
Sorry, can you repeat or speak?
$1.2 billion.
$1.2 billion, and that's for the grant. Again, we will review as we go along because we are operating within our policy. We have a policy that allows us to spend up to 40% of our after-tax surplus on grants and subsidies. So we tend to operate within that number, but make adjustments so that in the event something else should pop up, there's room to treat with it. As it relates to the solar loans, certainly after Hurricane Beryl, we saw a significant increase. And after that, we made some adjustment to increase the amount. Prior to Hurricane Melissa, the number of applications continue on that path where more persons were coming in to apply, and the fact that you could join and access up to 5 million. It made it even more
Access up to 5 million for the solar.
for the solar. You could join, two persons could join. So as an individual, you're
2.5.
2.5, yes.
But for the average home, 2.5 would be more than sufficient because the costs of those systems have been coming down significantly. I can tell you, I put in one in Mandeville since, and it was about, it was significantly below 2.5. So again, it ties back to the issues of the JPS. Are going to have more people migrating after the system. Now, if you recall, Beryl was much more, the impact of Beryl was a much smaller footprint. So if that triggered that jump in your applications, I anticipate that next year you'll have much more from Melissa. Or let me ask you, would that be a fair assumption?
It is a fair assumption, Chair.
Oh, okay.
Right. As it relates to the moratorium, not just those mortgages were affected, but one of the first things that was done, that NHD offered 6 months moratorium to all mortgages in the 7 worst affected parishes. That is not to say that you must take it, because you'll appreciate that some customers would not have suffered any damage or damages. So,
But those who apply will automatically get it.
automatically gets it, right. We also place a hold on things such as some of the processes that we're going through to treat with recovery.
So you're not going to foreclose on anyone during this period.
No, and unless for us to do that, it would have to be an exception. It has to be a situation where the properties are private treaty on the market for the longest while, the owner shows absolutely no interest, would have given us a clear indication to proceed. But outside of those, the approach
You
is
would
that
generally slow down
where
that
that is.
process,
Yes, Chairman.
the recovery, the recovery of your investment process. Yeah.
Yeah, because we recognize that it could come across as insensitive.
It would, it would come across if in the middle of this, you survive Melissa and then you're turning the people out of the sound house and creating more pressure on the system. So I think it is very appropriate to put a moratorium on many of those activities, especially in those areas I'm talking about, the hardest hit areas.
Yes, Chairman. On the matter of Ruthven Towers, we are happy to report that there were no flooding. There are still some outstanding matters that we are working through, but those are items such as the completion of the swimming pool and some areas which we are working through. We are going through the design and the procurement process for those. So we have not forgotten about that, and those will be treated with in the shortest possible time. If I missed anything,
capital budget, category hurricane and earthquake, you design and build in mind, and whether you have a climate change.
Of course, that would only apply to the NHT schemes because the owner, the person who build on their own land or acquires a private home would not pay. So the question was, what NHT schemes are designed to withstand what category hurricane?
Okay.
And earthquake.
And
Yeah, what level?
I turn over to technical.
Member, the building code is what generally obtains in terms of determining the category to which you designed for. Currently, the building code allows for, requires that you design for wind speeds 155 miles per hour, which is where a category 5 starts. But generally, the allowances in designs by engineer allow for a tolerance that may see you exceeding 155, but the earthquake wise, it is also for a Cat 6, magnitude 6 earthquake. So the building code is really what determines the extent to what the design.
hold on. You said Cat 6. You mean on the Richter scale?
Yes, magnitude 6, sorry.
On the Richter scale.
Right.
Okay.
So there's no. Okay, so you don't have a policy that builds on it or that requires a design for a higher wind speed. You just go with what the building code provides.
Well, generally in doing designs,
Yes.
the engineer based on
There's a between
tolerance
the
for it.
cost and how sturdy you design the house. Traditionally, 155 miles an hour was considered very adequate.
Right, but there are changes now.
But now with the climate change and stuff, these I think need to be
So
done.
I just want to
And
find
there's
out, Chairman, whether
currently-
they're having any internal policy discussions
Right, I
about,
think-
because I suspect that's a bare minimum in terms of the requirement building code.
No, 155 mile an hour is a pretty robust
Yeah, but-
standard. It's a
Right.
pretty robust standard. As I said, with what we're seeing now, we may have to update those standards. So I don't think you should pressure the NHT too much because those standards will be coming
Yes.
from. Yeah. Point of order.
I understand my colleague and I share his sentiment, but at the same time, PAAC is designed for certain question.
Hey,
here.
we're
And
going over into infrastructure now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so we have to
accept.
remain.
I accept. We're straying outside of our mandate. You asked for what was the capital
No,
budget?
I asked whether they were meeting or behind what they had budgeted in terms of capital
in
budget.
terms of the normal budgeting
terms of
process,
their
are you
capital budget
meeting
for-
your budgeted disbursements for building and funding mortgages?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and the answer to that is that we're running behind. No, and that's one of the reasons why you may see us having a large cash built up. But we expect, based on the contractual arrangements that we are in, that we will catch up down the road. But you know, with construction, various things happen. We are given time frame by developers and contractors, and then something else happens.
Yeah, well, I suggest you're not going to catch up for this fiscal year
Certainly,
because
certainly not.
you know
not.
that they too much last time. All right, Mr. Hines, and then finally Mr. Crawford. Oh, Mr. Hines, Mr. Crawford. Remember, I know you have special interest in education, so
I'm at the Prime Minister's office now. Chairman, I just want to start with NHT. I didn't understand fully if the insurance is for the loan amount or is it for the total unit? Is the insurance to cover the value of the home?
the question
or-
is whether it's a mortgage insurance, whether the NHT's insurance only covers the exposure to the extent of their mortgage, or if it exposes to the replacement value of the home.
Yes.
The replacement value, Mr. Chairman. But where you can have a challenge is that the initial coverage could be for the unit that you purchase, let's say for argument's sake, at $15 million, but the customer choose
Expand.
to expand. And although we encourage for valuation to be done on a regular basis and for the information to be provided to us, if it is not, then you could find a situation where there's some element level of undercover.
So if they had stayed with the original unit that NHT financed, does the NHT adjust the replacement value periodically just to reflect inflation?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Cook.
All right. Secondly, to the NHT, I understand you said there's a moratorium for the 7 major affected parishes. However, housing is a more individual situation. So if there's proof of impact outside of the 7, does that person qualify automatically too? There's in St. Catherine or in St. Mary, there's proof of impact.
Yes, Chairman. Provision is there. It's just for that customer to indicate to the NHD and the moratorium.
And they can
will
access
be-
it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mention was made from ODPEM about food kits. Are these food kits a fixed, constant food kit, or it varies depending on time? Meaning the inputs of the food kit.
So the food kits from I mentioned there are about 32 partners in the food assistance working group. So there will be variances in the food kits, but generally how the partners provision them, it's last for a week, 7 days, a family of 4.
So each partner would put what they have available to them in the food kit.
Indeed.
Is there an example we can get of what a food kit would include?
I could give some items offhand.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, I don't have a list on me.
right.
Let's put it that way.
So these food kits for 7 days, how many meals per day is it estimating? 1 meal per day, 2 meal per day, 3 meal per day?
Based on what I'm tracking, it's 2 meals per day for the 7 days.
So we are estimating that these packages are capable to do 4 persons
56
times 2
meals.
meal, 56 meals.
That would be the math.
I would submit that none of these packages can do 56 meals that we have seen. But okay. When is the targeted end date for shelter stay?
So the target, as the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development is looking at it now, is quite possible end of this year.
December 31st.
Yes, but I'd rather leave it to that ministry to give more detail on the exact plan.
Well, the
for
Ministry of
timelines.
Education, since most of these shelters are schools, the
Yes,
Ministry
so
of
the intent-
Education could probably help with that.
No, well, the Ministry of Education can only speak to when they would hope, but they would have no
Well,
input on
I'm
the
assuming
target.
they're in communication with the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Well, it's an important question, Chairman, because we'd have to understand what are the plans for the persons still in shelters.
Can anyone from Labor assist? No? I mean, from Education, sorry, assist? No, okay. All right, continue.
And can anybody from the Office of the Prime Minister assist?
Okay, they'll get, please ask them just to send that information,
They will send that information. All right. What
which
is it?
will be circulated, not for our next year meeting, Send it this week so that it can
What's
be
it? Yeah,
circulated.
'cause December 31st will come before. our
Yes,
next
that's what I'm
meeting.
saying. We want it to be sent to us this week.
What's the targeted date to shift to vouchers?
Yeah. Again, as I said before, Chair, from a policy directive, we're hoping to close us out by the end of the year, but I really would ask to defer to my colleague
So the
Pierce.
PS had answered that already as January, but as that was his best understanding, but yeah, defer.
All right. And approximately how many persons are still in need of food assistance?
That's a working number now. We're tracking just about 80,000 that would need constant replenishment. Those are numbers we're tracking. The numbers are going down on a daily basis. Access has opened up. Light is coming back to the spaces. Persons have access to cash. Persons also have access to pipe water. So assistance level is dropping. The general rhetoric in all of the spaces now is that they do have enough food supply, but we are continuing to supply into the harder hit areas until we transition.
So these are the persons most likely to benefit from the voucher system, these 80,000?
Well, the prescriptive to the needs assessments, I would hazard that they are coming together in the same vein based on what I've been able to see.
So these are the likely beneficiaries from the food vouchers. I presume there's a food voucher and a housing voucher that is different. Was that our understanding?
Yes, it's the MLSS is doing the vouchers for the
Prospectively,
ongoing.
cash grants and building grants would be a very separate thing in nature.
What's the expected value that you're putting per voucher? What is your estimated value per voucher?
I would, again, what I want to do is leave that work which is being done prescriptively now by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. They're working those figures out based on what they're seeing on the ground through their assessments.
Is there an overall budget for vouchers? Allocation for vouchers?
Not within the OPM.
All right. Have we established a fair way for partners, for example, shops, etc.? Is there a method of selection for these voucher partners?
In other words, where they could be surrendered, where the vouchers can be utilized.
I think I understand the question, Chair. But again, I think
don't have
it
that
prudent
detail.
to
They
cause
won't
for
have the
MLSS to answer
detail for the voucher system
That will come from.
from MLSS.
All right. So we will call MSS.
Yeah, well, they were supposed to have come today,
So we
but we got yeah.
so we will submit those questions.
Right, but we will ask them to respond in writing since they weren't able to come.
All right. Do we have information about the expected end dates for our NGO partners' participation?
One entity has indicated a possible end date, and we are currently in discussions with the Humanitarian Assistance Committee to see how best we can fill the gap as that partner moves out. They have made submissions to remain longer, so we are waiting the outcomes of those discussions to see if they will be leaving as they had indicated.
All right, since I have the responsibility to manage the time, just final. I didn't see Ms. Birchall, but please go ahead.
Me? Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be quick. Kamal or PS, could you say what objective criteria were used to settle on a compound town being prioritized over other constituencies and areas, such as just on the border at South St. James, where
Niagara Garlands, for example.
Niagara Garlands, where we've experienced catastrophic housing loss. Given that the Accompong Maroons have indicated that they have the wherewithal to get the work done, but they require just the material, can you say why the government seems to be obsessed with still insisting on going into Accompong and not redirecting those well-needed resources to other constituencies that really need it? You mentioned St. James, for example, having well over 100 and odd.
You see, I see Mr. Morris muscling up.
He'll have another
I don't want to get into
No.
Garlands versus a compound.
Exactly.
This is really
Come on. No.
All right. All right.
Chairman, with all due respect.
No, please, Mr. Clark, I'm already on it as chairman. I recognize. I have recognized. Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
I've already
Clark.
recognized
Thank you.
it.
Thank
And
you.
as
It's
I
not
see-
at all parochial. This is a national issue. This is a national issue.
Oh.
Names in that it is parochial.
The chairman, the chairman,
Realize that the MP for that area is stiffening up.
Mr.
Yes,
Clark.
yes, yes.
Mr. Clark.
No,
Mr.
please,
Clark, we're
please,
managing the time.
Mr. Clark, just
We're
give me a
trying to
chance. I
manage the
said I would
time,
deal with it.
please.
I said I would
Please.
deal with it.
I sat here and
Mr. Clark, all the mics are off. Could you just allow me to deal with this? Yes, I've been on the other side of it enough to study it. Members, please, we're on the last 5 minutes of OPM. I don't want us to get into an Akampang versus Garlands or Niagara kind of debate. So I'm going to rule that question out of order. Do you have any other questions that are not so parochial? And this was the final question. We're not taking anything from Akampang, Mr. Morris. I have no. You've been provoked into action. Please don't take the provocation. Just turn on mic. We're moving away from this.
Thank you. What goes into the prioritization of one area versus another when you decide to deploy well-needed resources such as the JDF and the outside teams who are coming in to rebuild housing and stuff like that, especially when areas have insisted that they do not need the resources? Can
All right,
those
I don't
be
think you
sent
need to
over?
add that right up.
The
Over
second
to-
question is with respect to the distribution of resources. You mentioned that you've spent a lot in terms of haulage to get a lot of material from Kingston into warehouses. I'm aware of one, for example, in Montego Bay that I'm told is filled from ceiling to floor, but there is still a great demand for like mattress and stove and cots and tents. Who is the ultimate decision maker where those go? Because there's still a great demand on the ground. And who then is the ultimate leadership and decision making authority over this? Sometimes I have a great need and I'm directed over housing, I'm directed over local government, education. Is that NARA? And within NARA, is
No,
that
there's
you,
no
Commander?
NARA today.
There's no NARA yet, or will that be NARA? Who is the ultimate decision makers?
All right, final answer in this section.
Sure, thank you so much. If I may assist my colleague here. So, the answer to your question, member, is again, I would want to crave your indulgence to allow my colleague from MLSS to answer. They are responsible for assessments.
All right, you don't have to go through that again. We
Yes,
will
based
ask
on
them
their
to
assessment,
respond.
they also recommend prioritization. Is that adequate?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
thank
adequate.
you.
I've never seen Mr. Morris so agitated. So I'm going to make an exception to take his short question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for withdrawing that. I will not make any further comment on that. My concern, though, is with the transitioning from hot meals to the ticket system. I just want to say to you, sirs, as you transition, be careful not to leave out any of the vulnerable persons. Because what I find is that there will be persons coming to collect their, what we call it, boxes. And when they come, they are without a ticket. So what you find is that as the assessment is done, you find that there are persons in some little corners that were left out, left behind, and then you find an old lady, an old man walking up to collect his box, and there's no box for him. So please be mindful. Thank you.
All right, good. PS and team, thank you very much. It's been a spirited morning of questioning. Thank you for the information you've shared. And we would appreciate if you would relay to MLSS that there were none of specific questions that we'd appreciate if they could get back to the committee on. The committee clerk will follow up as well, but I would appreciate your urging them to give us a quick, early response before we all go off on the Christmas holidays. Thank you. PS Troop, I don't know if you want to remain where you are or you'd like to come closer to the chair. If you, what which, all right, you're fine where you are. Okay. And that will help us move more quickly. So I think this is your first time attending this committee meeting, certainly in this year, for this financial year. And just to tell you how we have been proceeding, this is specific to the Hurricane Melissa recovery. And if I would invite you to start by taking 3 or 4 minutes to just give an overview of what you have provided in writing, I think is tabled, so you don't need to repeat everything in your submission, but just the highlights. Spend 3 or 4 minutes highlighting, the overall impact and where you are in terms of recovery. And then we would quickly transition into a question and answer with the members. So over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm joined by the technical team from the Ministry of Education. To my right, Chair, we have the Chief Education Officer acting, Ms. Thomas Gale. We have Latoya Garte from the National Education Trust. She is the Executive Director. Right behind her, I have the Deputy Chief Education Officer, Vivian Johnson, and she's the head of our planning division, which includes our education planning unit. Very important to the process. We have Mr. Kerry Brown, who is the Director of Technical Services in the ministry, looking mostly for our maintenance and small projects. Right beside him, we have a member of his team, Mr. Leonard Jackson from the Technical Services Unit. And to my left, I have my Principal Finance Officer, Mr. Richard DePass. So that's the team. So, Chair and members, I'm happy to report that the education system has been a real beacon of hope for our education system locally here in Jamaica and for the region. We have learned a lot from COVID, and because of that, the resilience we built out then has served us well as we navigate this new demand on the system. As you're aware, we have a national disaster that has impacted education, and part of that means the Ministry of Education has to put a plan in place. In times like these, what we define as our framework is the Education in Emergencies Response Plan, and that is something that is used right across the globe in times like these. When we have humanitarian crises, when we have national disasters, you effect your education in emergencies plan. So coming out of COVID, we were able to design that framework with a number of other guiding manuals. How do we reopen schools in a pandemic? How do we reopen schools in a disaster, etc.? How do we operate schools in a time like this? And we have the modalities outlined for schools, and as it is, when the hurricane came, as we were going through it, God would have it that the team were able to caucus, and we resurrected the COVID plans, and we made sure to do the modification very quickly and to activate the teams. So we had to activate the lead teams for operation, we had to activate the lead team for psychosocial, we had to activate the building teams, etc., etc. So the good thing, colleagues, the knowledge of going through a situation like this resides in the ministry, and I can boast about the fact that the members are still here in the ministry. So it wasn't difficult to get the team going, and we had frameworks to guide us. So we were quickly able to issue our instructions for schools to close, to hand over our schools. Under the National Disaster Risk Management Act, there was a declaration for the disaster, and so we handed over the schools to the shelter managers to prepare for the passage of the as our schools are part of the shelter and response and relief strategy in the country. 881 of our schools are a part of that network of support. And as you have seen from our report here, not all those sites were activated. Many of them were, and I can say we only have 55 that are active shelters. Now, that data that you have there is a little dated. We got information this morning from the Ministry of Local Government, which indicates that only 55 of our schools are still active, with only 795 shelters in those shelters. So we are getting there, and we have the assurance from the Ministry of Local Government that those shelters will be decommissioned in December, the end of, at the 31st of December, or by the 31st of December. So we should have the property fully at our disposal in January.
That's the question we were asking you to help with earlier.
No, we only have the assurance.
Okay,
I can only
okay.
speak to, because I'm
Okay.
not responsible for that area, as you know, but we work together and we
So
do
they have
understand.
assured you that by the end of December.
They have assured
they'll be
us by December 31st that they will decommission the shelters. Notwithstanding, we work with them and we understand as a government, as a country, what is happening to our people. And so our principals have been working with them. We do have the challenges on the ground. I would like to share with Jamaica also that coming out of COVID, there's a lot of learning on the ground, and we have seen a very high interest here in our principals wanting schools to resume. Because that's the purpose of the plan, is for learning continuity and emotional recovery. Once you're dealing with education and emergencies, those are the two goals you focus on. But unlike COVID, we see a very high interest. So it's really ground up that is driving what is happening, bearing in mind that the knowledge resides with the principals as it relates to how do we operate at a time such as this. And so we have been really, really grateful for what we've seen. And I want to publicly state that I am proud of our principals and our teachers who have turned up and showed up for our children. I remember going out there myself in the early relief stage, visiting schools and seeing our principals on the site. And we were able to move into cleanup immediately because persons understand what is important. The students need to connect. They need to be in a safe space, because the longer they're out there, the greater the risk, right, of other things happening to them, bearing in mind that the parents are distracted by what's happening to them emotionally and physically and otherwise. And so there was this urgent need. And so our principals got into motion very quickly to ensure that we could clean up our school environments, and that initiated the early release of the cleanup grants that we were able to provide to our school, up to $1 million per school, based on what we observed in them reporting to us the extent of the damage, and our assessors going out, which is our building team members going out into the field. We were able to respond to that. And then we have been doing the assessments as we go along. And you have seen from the data where we have indicated that 721 of our schools have experienced damage. And we have categorized those schools into priority 1, 2, and 3. And we are working through the infrastructure plan to ensure that we do the rebuilding, but not only ordinarily. We are using our new building standards to ensure that we have 21st century learning environment. We are using the opportunity also to modernize the learning environment. So we are building back better so our students can be ready for the 21st century and to be globally competitive. We are Jamaicans, and that's what we do best. And as an education system, we have to maximize on the opportunities we have now in this disaster to get it right. The transformation report did speak to the upgrading of the infrastructure in our schools, and this has brought it forward for many of our schools. So there is an opportunity in this disaster that we have to maximize on. So, Chair, I must say, out of that, I need to make some corrections as well. Majority of our schools are open. The last data set that was consulted revealed 850, but since morning, our principals have been actively entering the data because we have an active database. And I'm proud to report to Jamaica that 95% of our schools are engaging students in teaching and learning and emotional recovery. I would like to indicate that 986 schools are open for teaching and learning. Only 24 schools are not physically open, but the students are being connected through the rotation and the hosting model. This is something phenomenal. This is massive. This is big for our country to be able to get up and running after such a disaster in the West. And I'm really, really proud of our principals. And I want to just acknowledge that publicly. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you for that overview. I'm going to just ask for a clarification, then I want to open the floor. You said 986 out of 1,010
Yes,
total are open and engaging students, but I happen to know that some schools, Monroe College, for example, they are open, but not for every grade.
And that is why I said
What I want to know is, do
The
you
modalities.
include those that are part open, those who are engaging using distance remote learning? All of that is in the 986.
right, Chair, because
So
those are the modalities of learning. So there are schedules of learning
Can you just
programs.
separate the ones that are operating fully face to face of that 986?
All right,
How
we
many
will
are
consult the
operating
database
all
and-
grades face to face?
Right, so we will consult the database, but we have to remember, colleagues, we are in a humanitarian crisis. Our
No, man, I'm
schools
not
have been-
criticizing.
No,
You know,
I know. I'm just
don't
making
don't
the
get
point.
defensive. I just want the data. I just want the data.
It's
to-
not
to
a
be able to
defense. We're
understand.
getting it. I'm just making the point
Okay.
that we have to be realistic in the context. And within an education in emergencies framework, you have to do rotations, you have to do remote, you have to look at all the modalities that are available to ensure continuity of learning and emotional recovery.
Yeah, man. I
I'm
understand.
making the point.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay. I see Mr. Crawford. I see Mr. Newell. I see Mr. Clark. I see Mr. Morris in that order.
Thank you, Chairman. Chair, yesterday we had information that 150 schools were not open. So I would like to get some better understanding of what would have occurred.
This was from the Standing Finance Committee?
Yes.
Right, I just indicated that we had consulted the data this morning because our principals update. It's a live database. Likewise, we got to ADPEM this morning to verify again the shelter data. They submitted a latest report to us which indicate there's a decline in the number. So it is a live database. That data that was shared yesterday was dated, and the new data set is indicating that we are at 986.
986.
Yes.
You said earlier that there was 50 schools still remaining as shelters?
55.
55 as of this morning.
55. So that would indicate that there are some schools remaining as shelter that is considered open.
Yes, because the student, remember, the shelters, they are not utilizing all of the blocks, right? And then some of the students from these schools being used, they have been hosted in other schools. Say, for example, Petersfield, that we know about,
Yes.
they are at the church. So the Baptist church has given us the facility to set up the tents, engaging the students in their rotation. Godfrey Stewart High School has also hosted some of them in the
So
rotation.
in this case, is Petersfield considered open?
Not the physical school,
Right.
but the continuity of learning, which is the goal of the plan. The students are being engaged on rotation, teachers are involved, and we consider that operational.
But of those 55 schools, just to say that some of them might only have like 7 or 8
In the
persons
shelter.
in the shelter. So
Like,
it
for
wouldn't-
example,
it wouldn't take up, it wouldn't prevent the entire
entire
school.
school.
Yes, but Chairman, all right. So the Petersfield, he said, would have been considered and counted in the open based on the church.
The facilities that we're using to continue
So
learning.
how many schools do we have that are physically open? Do you have that?
We're getting the data for the whole
That's
school.
All right. So the schools that have both the shelter and the schools, what are the systems put in place to ensure security of the children and exposure of the children
Within the shelters?
that are both shelter and schools at the same time?
Well, those centers those schools that are being used as learning centers for continuity, the blocks are managed. So there's a shelter manager in the shelter. There's a conversation and a relationship. So persons are secured in a particular location, and the blocks that are removed
They're
from the
saying
shelter.
there's a segregation
There's a
between the
separation on the
areas
plan. And the
used.
truth be told, there is support. The parents themselves, they really want their children to be engaged. So there is a partnership on the ground. They do have their personal issues that they want to be attended to, and that's separate from learning. You know, they have their housing crisis and so forth. But as it relates to the continuity of learning, there is a groundswell that we have to celebrate. Parents want their children involved. The teachers are back. The principals are back. Let me tell you something. It's something that we are very, very proud of. It's not directed and there's no resistance. It's been generated and directed from the bottom up. And we are really proud of that.
Okay, so you also indicated that 298 schools were of extensive damage.
Yes.
Severely damaged is the statement that you made. So these schools that were severely damaged, they are also currently open?
Some of them, yes, Chair, because we have the support of our international development partners like UNICEF, and we have got tents. So we have deployed tents, which is what we call under the emergency temporary learning spaces.
In these same spaces?
In some of these spaces, yes.
So construction is happening in these spaces?
Well, we have gone the cleanup in some areas, and I know NET has begun the discussion with several of our contractors that are available.
That sounds like a no.
No, I'm going to give NET the opportunity to tell you exactly the specifics in that case. But we have begun the work with the consultations. Our IDPs and our donors are already on the ground doing repair work for some of our institutions. So NET, Latoya, can you just please update?
So we have.
Just speak directly. It's on. Just speak directly.
Chairman, members. We have at least, there are 25 schools, we updated this morning, that we've issued commencement letters to the contractors. I know on the weekend, at least 3 of those schools, the hoarding was going on. So usually we have contractors going into schools and working, but there are safety mechanisms that they have to take into consideration and put in place. So they work with the principals to segregate that area, and that becomes a workspace for the contractors. So there are safety measures that they have to put in place. They will eventually have to, of course, give us the insurance and the bonds. So we have that as we follow through with contracts.
All right, I'm happy to hear about the safety measures, but how does this impact the institution of learning and environment of learning? I'm sure there's a lot of hammering and stuff like that is happening.
That's why we have, so part of the, yes.
Chairman, we have a
So they work on weekends after school, but also we have emphasized with the project teams and the contractors that there has to be significant dialogue and agreement with the administration of the schools to work out.
We have 30 more.
All right. What I'm hold on. Since I'm getting Mr. Crawford, after you've gone about 7 or 8 questions, I think you could stop and allow other members.
With due respect, Chairman.
And allow other members. And we can come back to you. We can come back
no
to
problem if you want to come back,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to be hastened not to ask the
No,
question.
I'm not saying that you must ask
All
questions.
right, fine. So
But-
you can come back.
Yeah,
So let me
but I
ask one
think-
more and then
yeah,
you can
go
come back.
one
around.
more and then we can
No
go
problem
on.
with that, Chairman. Approximately how many students have been displaced from their school situation due to Hurricane Melissa?
No, I'm not sure the previous lady was finished. I think she was interrupted by the back and forth. Were you finished, or would you like an opportunity to?
It was really just to emphasize that we do have safety mechanisms in place. We understand that school happens, and usually we work out with with the institutions the best times to do work. We also look to the spaces to see where we can start.
The bigger question,
and
though, the
separate.
bigger question is: you said 298. You've only issued 28.
No.
That's 28 commencement letters. You said.
All right, so we have.
So you're 6 weeks in. It's only 10% you've been able to address. That's the.
No, there are 189 schools that we have assigned contractors to. The process is that they do their assessment, submit their report cost, review that, and based upon our own assessment, we validate, and then we give the okay to start works on certain areas.
All right. Do you have a table that you could share with the committee rather than us having to go through that will just show the total number and at what stage each set of schools are by parish?
So I think it was part of the attachments that were shared.
Well,
I'm not sure.
some of my attachment came garbled. I don't know what happened with the photo.
I'm sure we can. There's an attachment that speaks to priority one post-hurricane assessment.
I think something happened with my copy. It's yeah, I didn't get that. Okay, but go on if everybody else has it.
About replace. This.
What are they-
Chairman, I asked for the number of students that have been displaced by Hurricane Melissa.
Just speak more directly into the mic.
I asked for the number of students that have been displaced by Hurricane Melissa
That's a
from their schools, not from their homes. Schools.
from their schools.
Yes. And what's the attendance records showing for the percentage that are back in school?
Okay, so as I indicated, the schools are up and running, majority of them. We have a few of the schools that are physically not available, and so those students are being hosted. So in Region 3, we have 1,135 children from a close that is rotating, and that would be a little bit disruptive. From Region 4.
Sorry, give me that again. From Region 2.
Region 3.
3.
The affected regions 3, 4, and 5. Region 3, which is 1,135. Region 4, 2,568. And Region 5, 3,018.
3,018.
Yes, so about 6,718 in total.
These are the schools that have been
Closed. and
Totally
so
closed.
They are being hosted at different schools by rotation. So in terms of disruption, in terms of movement and so, these would be the most affected because they are not in their physical schools.
So
they are moving into other schools and they are rotating as well. So they are not, all the students are not accommodated every day. So they may be 3 days in, 2 days out as it relates to remote and the blended. The face-to-face and the remote. So that's what we have to do at this time.
I can't say that I'm understanding. These children are going to their schools or other schools?
Other schools, they have been displaced from their physical location.
Right. So this is what they're called host schools?
So they're in hosted other schools, yes.
But the data that we have here is that a total of 680 is being hosted.
Right. So those are the ones that have been. You want to explain this one?
Okay. If I may, committee members, so there are different groups of students. PS Troop is alluding to the different modalities. So they are being affected because they are not in the regular setting. So some of which will entail the hosting, some will be those on rotation, some will be those on the staggered, some will be those on the reduced hours. So there are different modalities. You asked about affected, so we're looking at
Yes.
those who are not getting the regular hours in school.
So this seemingly 7,000, almost 8,000, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000.
6,700.
All right. Are my numbers okay? 1,035?
135.
Okay, 1,135. So this 6,000, their schools are out. So the only way their modality can be accessible is through a host, I presume.
Their school are out, meaning their schools are closed?
That's the understanding I received.
Yes, but remember, although they're not physically there,
Yes.
there are other ways of engaging them.
Yes.
And so that's what PS is outlining, the different numbers.
So can you remind me of the ways?
Okay, so there's a reduced
Member
hours.
Crawford, I think.
There's a remote.
Last question.
Yes, but I'm following up to get an answer.
Okay.
So no, man, I would like to understand. How are they being hosted? Yes.
Remote method.
Yeah, would that need a whole school?
Or probably at their homes because we send home learning kits with them.
Okay, yeah.
All right. And so there's those that get in other extended hours, those that are on rotation, so they go in different days. And some are on the staggered. That means they go in for half. They don't go in for a full day. They go in for 2 hours, like a shift system.
Mr. Chairman, what I'm trying to understand, if you may oblige, is I'm speaking to the chairman.
Point of order.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead. Member.
Mr. Chairman, on a point of order, you have to make sure that you're ruling the right way. No one member, unless nobody else has any interest, should get the
Mr.
chance to
Chairman,
run
I will-
a 10
I
hour
will-
question.
I will
I
come
am
back
not
for that.
finished with my point of order. I am not finished with my
I will
point
yield.
of order. I am not finished with a point of order.
Go ahead,
and
go
for
ahead.
the
Go ahead,
youngsters,
Mr. Earl.
for the youngsters, a point of order means that you stop the person who has the floor first and listen to the point of order.
We're listening to
And
you.
I'm not finished with my point of order, so
We're
it don't
listening.
make sense to keep talking.
Member Clark, you are allowed to do your point of order, so proceed, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Going forward, I am going to ask you that you give each member the chance to ask 2 questions and come back to that person after you take the next person. But you can't have one person running away.
I'll
Mr.
take,
Chairman, I will yield
I take
and come back
your
around.
request as a recommendation.
I will yield,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, and come back.
Thank you, Member
around.
Crawford. Member Newell, it's your turn.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't ask a lot of questions. PS, so I'm looking through and I'm seeing the list of priorities in terms of number of schools per parish. I'm wondering where may members be able to find the actual list of schools, because I suspect in a lot of constituencies, persons would be coming in and asking in terms of, our conversations will be going on in the state of specific schools.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
I was just
I would just
consulting with my team member from Net, but we can post this on our website. So you can
members,
get it on our
I
website.
would also remind you the PS has duty trouble and has to leave here shortly after 1. So let us try and be economic. Huh? Yeah. So go ahead, PS, and you try and keep the question short. I know you're the champion for your principals and teachers, but you don't have to reinforce that in every response.
No, it's important. Dear.
We get it. But after hearing it 3 or 4 times, it has, we will retain it.
Yes. Okay, so the response is that we're going to share that on our website so that it's accessible. And we can also share it through our minister, the members of parliament.
Thank you. It's now Mr. Clark.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the PS. Madam, I do understand that we are in a crisis and the ministry has been doing a yeoman's job. Wonderful. And we have to commend the government on that situation. What I'm asking though, there are schools that will have funds already in an account that can assist themselves. Why is it that, and I'm not going to say the ministry because I'm not there at the ministry, but I know for sure in Region 4 where I am at, that they're coming, the principals who really want to assist and show their resilience is being stopped in their track not to get it done. Is that something that is coming directly from the ministry or is just right there at the region?
All right. Member, first thing as it relates to funds in our schools, we have to first and foremost clear those funds are for. Especially our small schools, our primary schools, we don't anticipate that they would have funds. If they have funds and investment, something is wrong because the funds, they are given for teaching and learning, for feeding of the kids. Some of the questions that we have seen, if we can use the path funds to do so and so, we cannot approve using the nutritional support fund to do construction. There is a provision by the government for us to repair our schools. We have to do so by the new building standards. So we're just asking our principals to be a little bit more patient so we can get it right. Right? So we couldn't just give a direction like that. We don't want to kill creativity and innovation. but we have asked for a partnership. We have called them in, we have outlined the framework, we are building out the communication so they can be more aware of what we are doing and asked to just trust the process. Because we really want to get back better.
Yes, there's a bigger question here, though. There's a tend to be an over-centralization.
Not this time.
At the Ministry of Education.
Not
That
this
has been
time.
my experience over the years.
I can tell you COVID was like that because it was new, but in this dispensation, we have regionalized the work.
But all the construction is being done by out of one entity.
No,
or being
Chair, we have-
approved or funded. That's not so?
Just coordinated by NET, which is
Okay,
the
just
entity that
coordinated.
deals with infrastructure for schools.
All right, Mr. Morris was next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As a past school leader myself, I just want to commend our principals for the work that they have been doing in ensuring that our students continue to learn using the different modalities. My question has to do with our national exams, Madam PS. Are there any plans in place to reconstruct, modify our national exams so that they take into considerations the unique situations of the students in the 6 parishes that have been badly hit by Hurricane Melissa?
Yes, Chair. I'm going to give way to our CEO to address this one because she's leading all the consultations on this.
Thank you, Piers. Good afternoon again, committee members. We have gone ahead and we have modified our curriculum, the national standards curriculum, from grades 1 through 9. And what we have done also, we have sent this out already to the system, and we have printed hard copies for those affected areas. So we have sent digital version, we have printed hard copies. We have done learning kits assigned or aligned to the modified objectives. We are now in the process of consultation with our monitoring committee, read the adjustment to the national exams. That meeting will happen very soon. We have done a concept paper already, and our minister has asked us to do some consultation with our stakeholder group, and that's primarily for the primary exit profile.
Thank you. Ms. Burchell?
Mrs. Harris-Garty, I wrote to the minister about this in particular because
Mr. Morris, just turn off your mic for me.
I wrote to the minister about it because some donors have been anxious to contribute to some rebuilding efforts in a particular place in this country. And I've reached out and they've been told that everything has to go through NET, which has been a couple of weeks now. And this particular investor, a donor, is just anxious and they're losing interest. Is NET having a bottleneck with the donor requests to rebuild schools in the country?
Well, I don't know of any bottlenecks, and there are a lot of donors who said they're waiting, and we have not even received communication that they're interested in something. So it hasn't fed into us. Usually, if a donor is interested, we assess the schools, we provide them with the information on schools, what's required. Why we're insisting on logging the donors and everything is because we also provide the donors with a specification for the modified roof dimensions that we're promoting. What we want to ensure is that we build back better and that we not just...
When you say the modified roof dimensions, you mean the specification?
The specifications. So we're just trying to ensure that all donors are aware. They're on our website, yes, but we directly provide them to each donor that's interested in doing work. We also do a LOI with the donor, which is a letter of intent. Just force everybody to have an agreement on what is thing. What some of the issues we've been having is really finding common ground between donors and the schools. So the schools want X, the donors want to do Y, and we try to moderate that process. So if there's a donor you're aware of, feel free to send it to us. We will follow up on it because we follow up pretty quickly on all donor because outside of infrastructure, donor is our next major arm and portfolio responsibility. So we try to work in tandem with all donors.
All right. It is Mr. Crawford who is not here. Okay, I have a question in the meantime. The school system has been disrupted in a sense, not just by the infrastructure damage or the being used as shelters. The normal administration has always also been disrupted. And so, for example, shortly after being after the elections as the new MP for South Manchester, I got a list of school boards that needed renewal and so on. And that process, just because my attention was shifted to dealing with roof repair and drain cleaning and et cetera, you know, it delayed my response. So they've all gone in now, but principals are saying to me, we have boards or we have situations because the boards are not in place or the replacements haven't been appointed. We don't have signatories for the accounts. And I know there's a normal process that I think it's the National Council on Education goes through, but it takes a while between getting the recommendations and all the documentation from, in my case, the MPs. I know that depending on the type of school, church, etc. But we are reaching a potential administrative crisis, I can tell, in South Manchester, because schools don't have signatories for their regular account, and a lot of them will be expiring at the end of the year. Senior staff who sign, I think it's principal or burst or whatever, going off on 8 months leave, and so the one signature that they have left is going off. So is there any way that we could expedite whatever was the normal process to put these boards in place so that, you know, it doesn't become what is a disaster now, it doesn't affect the normal recurring administration of even those schools who are not directly affected?
Certainly, Chair, we can get involved in that process. We do have a provision built in outside of this disaster where we have delays that you have outlined, that our minister would issue an extension for, like, our chairman and so they can have signing privileges in the interim whilst we work through the process. That is already embedded in the system, but we can expedite as it is now, given the challenges that you have outlined.
Thank you. It was Mr. Crawford and Ms. Lee.
Yes, Chairman, I want to draw your attention to page 2 of the report, section 4. In this section, it was indicated that we have approximately 680 students that are being facilitated in some way at a host school. Information garnered here was that regions 3, 4, 5 are the most impacted regions. Regions 3 has 1,135 students whose schools are not in accessible operation. However, only 10% approximately of that is being hosted. Region 4 has 2,568 students who don't have a school to access, their own school to access. Only 61 of that is being hosted. And region 5, which is 3,018, only 90 is being hosted. It therefore calls for my concern as to what is generally happening with the students who are not being hosted.
Okay, in response to that, committee, the table as outlined here, it's actually showing the number of students being hosted within the region. So although regions 3, 4, and 5 have been affected, they are still hosting students. So there are students being hosted within even the affected schools, regions. So the case of Petersfield and the Godfrey Stewart hosting students, you have students being hosted in Mount Alvernia, different schools within the affected areas hosted. Along with this number here hosting, there's still the other method of operation happening within the region. So although region 4, 5, for example, is hosting 90 students within their region, there are students from region 5 in region 1 being hosted, and they're all over the island. And region 5 still operating with the other methods of rotation, staggered, extended day, the shift system. So
Could you just remind us how the regions
many things
correspond to
happen.
parishes?
Pardon me, sir?
Chairman,
For those who are watching and may not
Okay,
be
so-
familiar with the
All right.
the
so
region system.
Region 1 is Kingston and St. Andrew. Region 2, St. Thomas, St. Mary, Portland. Region 3, St. Anne and Trelawney. Region 4, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland. Region 5, St. Elizabeth, Manchester. Region 7, Clarendon. And Region 6 is not there. Region 6 will be St. Catherine.
so Region 6 isn't currently hosting any?
Yes, I think there are some hosting in Region 6, but I didn't get the numbers.
All right. So Chairman, on this table, Chairman, there is a fulsome report of the entire hosting numbers throughout the country, regions 1 to 7, which totals 680. So it suggests region 1 is hosting 232, region 2 82, and it continues to say the total is 680. Yet the impacted persons as it relates to their school has been destroyed or unavailable is 6,700. So approximately only 10% is being hosted.
The 680 students referred here, they are at these schools fully every day.
They're physically attending
They're
the schools. is what you
physically
mean.
attended, but there are other modalities of within that is happening at the
Okay,
same
can you
time.
guide me along those modalities, please, one at a time, so I can understand those
All right.
modalities?
I could, for example, the rotation.
Yes.
If I had, I could project for you what happens in a rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for example, 3-2. All right, so you go in school, you go to school 2 days, you stay home at 3
Mm-hmm. Yes.
days. When you're home, you get seated work. So you're sent home with work.
Mm-hmm.
The exams group, however, in a rotation, they go every day.
I understand.
So one school will have rotation for grades 7 to 10 or to 9, while 11, 12, and 13, full school.
Yes.
You also have...
Not yet.
Pardon me?
Yes, it
You
continues.
also have temporary learning spaces where we establish tents, we use church halls, and so forth. We also have, for example, the regular operating hours, schools, and you have extended days. So these schools, they start at different times, but the students get the normal hours. So you have some students going in at 7 or 8, some going in at 11, but they get the full 5 hours of school.
All right. So
And you have the reduced time where schools that there's no electricity back there, they go school and they'll end like at 1 or 12. So it's a reduced hours.
So Chairman, when we look at rotation, it was indicated that these 6,700 students their own school is not available. So when we look at the rotation, whether it's 1 day, 3 day, or 5 day, wouldn't they have to be rotated into a host school?
Not necessarily.
Where would they be rotated through or in?
Well,
Where would they attend? Because their own school has been indicated unavailable. That was what was indicated here. So where would they attend for 3 days?
There's this temporary learning spaces, one. They may be mapped to another school, but it's not fully hosting 5 days. So they do some days here, some days at other schools.
One's going to a temporary learning center. The school that it's attached to is not considered their host school.
Not
So
necessarily.
that is a temporary learning center.
Right.
Do you have the number of students being rotated through temporary learning centers?
I could get on that. I could get that.
All right. As it relates to the I can't see anymore. The extended days. So the students attending to extended days, this 6,000 that don't have a school of their own to attend, would those schools that they attend be called host schools?
I am not clear on the question.
No, sorry, you said the 6,000 or the 680?
6,700 students, it was reported here this morning, are not able to access their own school at this time.
Right.
No, the question, sorry, Chair, the question that was asked were the students who are affected. So they are affected because they're in the region and there are issues with their school, but they're still learning taking place on different modes at some time.
All right, let me
I
ask.
can get you the specific data of what is happening where. And as Pierre said earlier, it's managed really regionally. So when you go into different regions, it's managed based on the uniqueness of the situation and
right.
the schools.
Can I be corrected, PS, that in Region 3, 1,135 students don't have access to their original school currently? Is that the correct? PS. I understand that, man, but Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
All right, let me hear PS.
Anyway, calm down, Mr. Clark. Beg you. Calm down.
PS, can you?
After this, we're going to Miss Lee, and then we'll come back to.
Yes, no problem.
Mr. Crawford.
Okay. Yes, member. So that 1,135.
Yes.
So that's one school in Region 3, which is Hague
Right.
Primary. Right.
So their school is no longer accessible.
So that school is not physically accessible.
Yes.
So the students are benefiting from learning opportunities through the different rotational models, blended models. They are mapped. What we want to distinguish here is the host school. As CEO is trying to explain, the host school, these students are at these institutions fully. So they are in Kingston, they relocated, they are in these institutions fully.
Yes.
Within the regions, they are mapped and they are hosted, but they are not necessarily full-time there. So we use the term interchangeably. So let me just say clearly and use the word mapped, right? So for distinction. So these on this schedule that you're referring to, 680, they are fully in schools, different parishes, until they can get back into their families. Their families have decided to relocate them so they can stabilize themselves and they come back home. All right, so it's the 232 children, they came to Kingston and they are residing with family members. What we did, we found schools for them so that they continue with their learning. The students who came to Portland, St. Mary, we found schools, so they are physically there every day.
Okay.
Right, so they are
Ms. Lee,
hosted.
your question.
Right.
Thank you, Chair. PSN team, I join you in celebrating the efforts of our teachers and our principals and of course our boards, because I too see the effort that they have made, and our teachers too, they have suffered in impacted parishes, and for them to put themselves aside and to look about our students, that is definitely commendable. Share with us though, I see where in Region 3, for example, and I'm sure other regions that have been impacted, schools have been open, very good. Generators are in place or getting in place. But some of our principals, though, they are trying to get connectivity. Can you share with us what's happening as it relates to your broadband connectivity efforts?
Thank you very much, member, for that question. So initially, when we started to do the assessment as it relates to broadband, and so we were fearful that we would have lost the networking things that were done with the Wi-Fi connection and so forth. But given time, the passing of time, we have seen where we have been able to find the access points that we have installed and so forth. So initially, we got a report of about 300 schools that had their broadband equipment damaged. That has been significantly reduced because we have been able to find the things in their location. So those schools are getting up and running slowly but surely. So the broadband network really stood up to the passage of the hurricane, and we are really encouraged by that because we are in active contract with our contractors building out the network right across our schools so we can have the national schools network. So we are fixing along the way. What we have done though, given the passage, is to strengthen the capacity of our schools with the internet support through the Starlink. So we have expanded that support in the most affected parishes to ensure that there can be connectivity. That's because that's how we communicate and share data with our system, so we can have active information to share with the public. And our e-learning Jamaica, you know, they are now in the Ministry of Education, which makes it even quicker for us to take decisions and to move. And so they have moved with alacrity to procure. We have supplied our teachers' colleges very quickly. They were able to supply our regional offices, because, you know, that's the hub within the parishes, with Starlink devices to ensure that we could connect and get in touch with our principals and schools. So we are building out that resilience in the system as it is now. Next part of the learning. So we can't just rely on our broadband support, but we have to see where we can activate now for the Starlink and then see how we retain that as part of the resilience as we build out our education system. So we have been responding to that. Where the gaps are, we have set up those. And as you know, we had some schools on the Starlink before in the most difficult parishes that our local providers did not take on. We still have to provide the guidelines, member, because, you know, that's not a regulated provision. So we have to make sure that the broadband works, because that's an alternative support.
Is there, just a related right on that, is there any special approval that schools have to get? I know there were donors who contributed Starlink systems to school in Manchester, for example, but is there any special permission? Is this one of those centralized things, or the principal can just act on their own autonomy?
Chair, the principals can act, but we encourage them to get in touch with us, because they would have to set up their own personal credit cards and so forth, which we do not want them to do. We have a provision in Kingston that we can extend to all our schools, and we will underwrite the costs for that.
Okay, so it would be on a central ministry credit card or regional credit card or something, rather than the individual having to activate it with their
They will have to
personal.
use their personal resources, and we really don't want them to do that for school purposes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Crawford, final. There was some,
Chairman.
Mr. Williams.
Just quickly, I mean, we are aware of the level, the trauma, because of the passage of Hurricane Melissa, the trauma, you know, concerning our students. So I want to know briefly, you know, what would you say would be the efforts of the ministry with respect to the levels of professionals, psychosocial support made available to schools?
Our CEO will come in with the specifics as it relates to numbers of sessions, but I can speak to the architecture in place as it relates to the helping professionals in the system. So we have in our schools guidance counselors, social workers, deans of discipline, and these are persons who are trained in therapeutic services, psychology, social work, so forth. We have our nurses, and we have our health and family life educators. They constitute what we call the helping professionals in the system, and they provide what we call psychosocial care or psychological first aid in the system. So those persons have been activated. Some of them, we had to retool them because they themselves were affected. So as we began the resumption process, the first things we did were the psychosocial sessions. I had to convene one for the central ministry itself, because we are the workers getting the work done, and they too were affected and their families were displaced. So we had to start with ourselves. Then we started with the principals. We got them in a room, in a virtual space, because of the disruptions, of course, difficult to move into Kingston with what was happening with the road and so forth. And so as many as possible that could come in, they came in, and we got a psychologist to come on and to give a little pep talk about how to treat with situations like this and how to deal with self. One of the third things we did, we republished our clinicians. So in addition to the architecture within our schools that we pay, we have specialists within the country that provide these services privately. We re-engage them throughout this process and put them on a contract with us and publish their names and contact numbers of persons who really do not want to speak within a large group within their schools can have one-on-one sessions with these high-level trained psychologists and psychotherapists. We got the best given what we saw happen in the West. So we want, like a Dr. Wendell Abel, for example, which is one of the best in our countries. We had him on with us in the ministry and available. And we have indicated to our principals, teachers, support staff, students, parents, you can access this support fully funded by the government. We pay for that. That's something that was built out in COVID. We saw what happened in COVID when the resumption started. We had to expand our support. And so this was already built out. We just expanded, reactivated our contracts, and we made it fully available. Initially, the persons were localized. So these we were working in regions. They quickly agreed to be available right across the country so they can penetrate what needed to be done to help our people recover emotionally. So that's the architecture that we have in place. But CEO can give you numbers in terms of sessions that have been activated thus far.
Thank you, PS. To date, we have had 272 sessions. We have had 124 regional staff sessions conducted. That's within the regions. They have conducted 124. A total of 1,863 staff members have participated. We have over 6,000 parents that have participated, and we have 1,761 students, and those are the sessions that we at the ministry directly manage. Each school has the liberty of conducting and carrying out their own sessions.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Crawford.
Chairman, I apologize for how difficult it is for me to understand what is happening, and I will try to engage my brain a little more on it. What are the modalities for displaced students to be re-engaged currently in the most affected areas?
Okay, so students who have been displaced, if they so desire, they can participate in the host school opportunity. We have over 1,000 spaces. So schools have identified the number of students they can take in. So that's one option. There's also the option where they can participate in the remote. We have a virtual school, and although it's virtual, the work can be, it's a classroom in a box. It can be offline. So that's available, that's out there. We have access to a list of teaching and learning activities using the television PCBJ, as well as we have our learning kits. There are learning kits that have been distributed, and we will continue to distribute these. The learning kits will be distributed monthly. So we send a month of supply of work to the students. So those students who have been displaced, once you contact a regional office, the regional team will help you organize in such a way that you can get back into a learning space. We also encourage our parents and our students to utilize our online modality. Our PEP website is there where it outlines the areas of focus. We have communicated that the areas that the exams will be written on, focused on. So they have their workbooks. They can also participate and carry out those activities. And we have past papers online as well.
Right. But with the worst affected areas are still fairly incapable of the television and the online at this particular point.
We have printed work for them.
Right,
We have
so,
everything that is on in the virtual space. We have also, with the help of our donors, we have gotten printed materials and they have been distributed
Distributed how to this? How do they access
to the
it?
schools.
Okay, all
To
right.
the schools.
Now, what about rotation and the shift base? Is that for the damaged schools?
It's for all schools.
So, are there any schools without damage that is on rotation currently?
Should not, because if there is no damage, they should be operating the regular basis.
So therefore, the rotation and shift is for damaged schools.
And I said not necessary, because if they are hosting students and there's an increase in their capacity,
Right.
then the board and the principal will make necessary adjustments.
Okay, is there any such school to your knowledge?
I'm almost sure I'm aware of about one, but I could do the research and get back to you.
All right. The temporary learning spaces, how many of those do we have?
Ooh. We have tents and all. Well, I'm sure of 91 with tents, but I could pull the data for the other spaces for you.
Do you have an approximate of how many they can facilitate? What's the max capacity of the temporary learning spaces?
Okay, size of the tent. I know. Okay, we have this because we were given the large ones can hold up to 80 students, and the smaller ones I think is about 40 students.
And we have 10 of them.
We have 91
Oh, we have
tents.
91 tents.
I can't tell you the sizes in the
Right,
90,
right,
and there's 421 being shipped.
Being
as well.
shipped out now. So, all right. So I come back now to the 6,700 whose school has been inaccessible. Right? So I'm coming back to that. These 6,700, you're saying in summation across the country, 680 are being hosted. That's the report here.
Some are being hosted and some are being mapped.
I don't know the map, but I come into that. But the hosting is 680. Am I correct?
Yes, yes it is. Yes it is.
We have sat here, and when I say you, we have sat here, and we have allowed one member to be asking more than 10 questions on a trot. Not only that he's asking so many questions, but the question he's repeating himself over and over, he's not understanding. The PS must make him understand. Nobody can make somebody understand if they just don't understand.
Can I continue,
I've given him
Chairman?
that.
And I think, Mr. Chairman, that the member is doing it deliberately. And you need to rule, Mr. Chairman. You listen to him. We cannot sit here and have the member going over and over and over. The same very thing. I've heard the 680 more than 6 times coming from the member.
All right, Mr. Clark, I take your point. We're coming to an end due to the passage of time anyway. And I know Mr. Crawford is sincere in that he wants to understand the data that's being presented.
Mr. Chairman.
But I see Ms. Lee has
Mr.
another
Chairman,
question
with due respect, Mr. Chairman, we have a report here in front of us. Based on the report here in front of us, I know as a certainty where 680 children are. I don't have this report any certainty where the other 6,000 are. I'm trying to understand where the other 6,000 are. So therefore, if the member is impatient on that interrogation, you have to give me my chance. You can't tell me. If the member is
all right,
impatient
Mr. Clark.
of that is his.
All
That is
right,
his,
Mr. Clark, calm down.
that is
Calm down.
his-
You're not advancing the
That
process.
is his prerogative. So, Mr.
All right, Mr. Clark, settle down. Settle down.
Yes,
We want to wrap up now. We've been
if
going.
the 6,000, Mr. Chairman, are still in the system,
Right,
I
you're-
am seeking to understand
Where the
where
other 6,000
these
are?
6,000 are
All right,
assigned to
so
and
just-
how they are being educated.
All right,
And
stop there
I
and
will
allow
not
it.
be deterred
Right,
by
so allow the
outbreak.
PS to respond.
Chair,
Yes.
permit me to submit that data through our minister to Member Crawford because
You don't have to go back to the minister. It is quite common that the PS sends
We can
the
send it
data
through
to
the-
the committee clerk.
Right. So we will list the we will list the 24 schools so affected, and we will outline the enrollment for those schools, and we will indicate the modalities for the different learners
For-
at the different grades. We
Yes,
can
so
do
that at the end of the day, it reconciles with the 6,700.
Yes. We have an
All
active
right.
database. Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. Ms. Lee, you still want to get in a final question?
Thanks, Chair. I just want a final question regarding the rural school bus system. Do you have a timeline as to when it will be fully resumed?
The Ministry of Transport had indicated that the system is up and running. I think there was a call at some point, and Minister Baz did speak to it. And we are happy for that because this is the kind of support we need. And we know there are some challenges with our parents signing up. So I'm using the opportunity for those who are listening. Parents, please sign up. We need you to sign up so we can get the security features in place for January.
No, so is
Thank
it
you,
that
Chair.
you expect it to be fully back up? Because I think that was the question. When will it be
Right.
fully back up? By January? Is that the answer?
For our school?
Yes.
Yes, because we are going to be breaking next week for Christmas.
No, the school bus system will be back up fully in January.
Chair, I am aware that the instruction was given that
The instruction was given, but it's not within your control because
Right.
it's operated out of another ministry.
another ministry.
All right, thank you. Members, I think we will all join in thanking the PS and her team. I contrast her effort to attend here in person today, notwithstanding her duty travel, and that she needs to part directly to the airport to make sure she gets her flight. I'll contrast that with JPS, who have not made much of an effort to attend. And I know Mr. Warmington, were he here, he would have voted with the majority to ensure that we don't give JPS any more time, because I know he's impatient with that kind of behavior. So thank you very much, PS and team. We have just to, I think, set the date for our next, well, any other business? No. If not, we will go to item 8, date of next meeting. And we had agreed that the 14th, we would invite JPS. So unless you want a meeting before that date, Mr. Clark.
Mr. Chairman, let us bear in mind that Parliament goes on recess since yesterday, and the date for return has not been set yet.
No, it does not matter, Mr.
Yeah, it
Clark.
does.
The committees can meet while Parliament is in recess. I
But
have
bear
checked
that-
the
bear that
standing
in
orders
mind.
on that.
Bear that in
I am
mind.
quite certain. I bore
Bear
it
that-
in mind.
bear that in
I
mind.
bore it in mind. So the date of next date of next meeting is January 14th, and we will invite Ministry of Labor to come in addition to JPS on that date, since they were not here today.
I was suggesting, Chairman, that based on how the responses regarding the shelter, etc., have been coming, it sounds like we need Labour and local government and OPM in the same space. Some of the questions that I think would be appropriate for OPM rehousing.
So since that's
is
a
kicked
month
over.
from now, we could ask OPM to come back and give us another
Right.
update. Okay. All right. So local government, Ministry of Labor, JPS, OPM. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. May I have a motion for the termination of the meeting? Mr. Newell and Mr. Hines, Thank you. Meeting is terminated.
You sure this is okay?
Relationships can get complicated.
You have avoided seeing me now for almost a year. But you still take my calls. It simply means you're not over me yet.
Okay.
Some relationships stay complicated.
And don't take it easy, Danny. I've wasted a lot of my time with you. You know what? Let me just silence this all together.
It's done, isn't it?
What do you expect from me, Stanley?
Just forgive me.
Crocodile tears? Once a cheater, always a cheater.
When there's trouble in paradise, what do? Watch the story unfold in a brand new season of Mirrors in Paradise. Saturdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 6:30 p.m. right here on PBCJ, the People's Station. What's the state of education in the digital age? Find the answers in the new season of Piccadilly Talks, Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. right here on PBCJ.
I can't believe this. Guys, I found a book here and jokes about matter. Hear this one. Rest in peace, Wallet Matter. You will be missed. MIST. That's funny. No, it's not. Alright. Hear this. I made a chemistry joke, but there was no reaction. You can believe that? That's even worse. Then why are you smiling? Because you think it's funny. Admit it.
Code in.
Greetings, Super Science Squad. The owners of a beverage company needs your scientific expertise. They're opening a hangout drink spot to sell drink combos to their customers. They want one of their drink combos to be a special layered beverage. However, they're having challenges developing this offer. Your mission is to create a unique combination of liquid floating upon liquid. This will be done using any of their bottled beverages. You must use at least 3 different beverages to make a colorful combination. They also want their customers to have a tasty experience. Samples of the company's drink beverages are en route to your location. I'll contact you in 24 hours for an update. Proton out.
Okay, so before the beverages come, we need to come up with a plan.
We don't even know how many samples we're getting. Has it taste them all?
I hope not. I'm not a fan of drinks.
I want him to be the taster.
Sure, sir, but we're going to need to determine how we're going to select the beverages before we even get to that.
We need to identify what makes one liquid float upon another.
Help us figure this out. How would make one liquid float upon another liquid? Something to do with the particles, maybe?
I can understand a solid holding up a liquid because solid particles are packed tightly together, so the liquid has no space to go through them. But how does a liquid hold up another liquid when there are enough space that the liquids can combine? Wouldn't they mix and mingle?
I suggest you go to the kitchen to test some liquids and see what we come up with.
Then let's go.
Welcome.
I see some milk.
And so kind of honey, that's my name.
You're right, I'm in liquid.
These should be enough.
Let's get some cups so we can examine them closer.
Honey.
Alright. So we have milk, honey, drink, and water.
Water, I'll get this. Pour. Usually I'm going to go keep the volume constant to the water.
Okay.
See how the honey is going to start and the drink?
Some flow easily and others really slowly. The slower ones seem to be the thickest and heaviest.
So heavier means more mass. So we need to consider mass when deciding how to layer it.
So not all liquids are created equally.
So heavy liquids at the bottom, light on top, and something in between them.
But I'm curious, guys. These have just about the same volume, but different mass. I don't get it. Me neither.
You know what this reminds me of? What? Traffic. We say that traffic is heavy or light, right? So suppose the traffic on one road is filled with cars, bumper to bumper, and another road has few cars. These two roads are the same length, but the number of cars on them are different. The roads could represent the volume, and the cars could represent the particles. A liquid can have more or less particles in the same amount of space, like more or less cars on these roads. It's like particle traffic or something. Some liquids have more particles in the same amount of space than other liquids. And that would make the mass different because more particles mean more mass.
Okay, so using your analogy of traffic, when traffic is light, the cars move about more freely, right? But when traffic is heavy, the cars can't move about as freely because there are more of them on the roads. So that's why more particles like cars and traffic make liquid flow slower.
I think so.
This answer. How about we just test them to see which liquid can hold up water?
Have you ever seen liquid floating on liquid? How do you think we should make these float on each other?
We will separate them into heavy, in between, and light. Then do the layering.
Honey is the heaviest and thickest for sure. Then
Milk, in between.
water and the drink are the lightest.
So let's use honey, milk, and drink.
Or the milk is not sweet as the honey. I think that we should break it up and so.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Oh no, it's not working.
Well, obviously the milk makes it a drink. It seems that they were nearly the same mass. So when we're layering beverages, we should use a balance to measure the mass for it. Samples are here.
We'll clean up while you go get them.
I got balance.
Gee, I got it. They also send us the glasses so we know how much to use and what they look like.
I'm so excited. I really like this mission.
And it's like we're reading our minds because all the samples measure the same volume.
Good. So basically, we'll make our selections based on what we just did. Keeping in mind color and taste.
Yes, so before we begin, let's make sure that we're all on the same page. What do we know about liquids? 1, they all fill. 2,
Some of the same volume but different mass.
3,
Some of substances we should turn in on the floor.
anything else?
No.
Okay, let's keep these things in mind as we go on.
Just by looking at this, I can see that the syrup has more mass than the soda water. So the syrup is definitely going to go to the bottom over there. Well, the soda water is light and airy because it's fermented, so it could go to the top of it.
We'll confirm that with our measurements. Thank you.
So to get the correct measurement of the liquid, we need to subtract the mass of the bottle.
True. But I think we can do that later as it won't affect what we're doing now.
Okay.
So So Kelvin, you were right about the syrup. It definitely has more mass than the soda water, which has the least mass.
So we just need one more to go in between.
Alright, so the syrup is sweet. So are we going to use the same amount of all the liquids?
We could vary the amount of liquid.
But if we use normal that, will it not make it heavy and mess things up?
Guys, let's try and see. We need another liquid. Orange juice? Okay, so for fill most of the cup with the orange juice first and then add the syrup.
You sure?
No, but we'll find out. Add the syrup and remember to use a spoon.
So the syrup is still heavier even though there's more orange juice?
That means when volume changes, mass also changes.
This is so cool! This is what I call rainbow juice. Colorful? Check. Now for the one part. I was going to say tasting. Will someone get started, please?
Wait, let me think of it first. Okay, go ahead. Alright, I let that chocolate go around this.
Tasting. Check.
Coding.
Greetings, Triple S.
Greetings.
Where are we now?
Ariel, go ahead.
Okay, we already knew that all liquids flowed, but today we observed that some liquids flowed more freely than others. We also found out that mass can affect how liquids flowed. What we don't know is how one liquid that has more mass will still be heavier than another liquid with less mass.
So the volume and mass of the substance both increase in the same ratio because the density remains the same. Alright, that's a mouthful. What you're talking about is density. Density is how many particles there are in a certain amount of space. Density varies between a solid, liquid, and gas. But the density in solids, liquids, and gases may also vary. So, you will find that some liquids are heavier or have more mass than other liquids. They have more particles in that space. They are more dense. We can calculate the density by dividing the mass by the volume. Mass is determined by the amount of matter, that is, particles, in a substance. So the volume and mass of the substance both increase in the same ratio, causing the density to remain the same. So, if a liquid is denser than another liquid, even if the volume changes, the density remains the same. Okay, say I had two glasses and I filled each of them halfway with water, approximately 120 milliliters each. That's my volume. I measured the mass of the water for each glass and it was 120 grams each. Now, supposing I poured one of the glasses of water into the other, what would be the volume of the water I now have?
So that would be 120 plus 120 milliliters, so 240 milliliters.
Great. So the volume increased from 120 to 240 milliliters. What would be the mass?
120 grams plus 120 grams, that would be 240 grams.
So you see, both the volume and the mass has increased. Since both of these change at the same rate by doubling, the density would also be the same. Let's check. When we had the two glasses half filled with water, the density for the water in each glass was 120 divided by 120, and that equals
120 divided by 120 equals 1.
Good. After we poured one into the other, we had 240 divided by 240, and that equals
240 divided by 240 equals 1.
Exactly. So it wouldn't matter if you use a large amount of one liquid compared to a smaller amount. The density will remain the same. Well, good job, Super Science Squad. And if Star is pleased with the taste, I'm sure the customers will be as well. Prepare your report so I can send it to the client. Proton out.
Okay, Star. I'm jealous. I want to taste it too. Me too. You do it. You have to try it.
Cook it up and make we steam it. Fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Cook it up and make we roast it. Farm fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Gross smart, are the best part. Food for thought, so me have to eat smart. Easy catch, full in it. A tilapia, you don't know what's next. Cook it up and make we fry it. Fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Bring home the best in freshwater fish. High content of vitamin B3, protein and potassium. Tilapia, simple, healthy, delicious.
The National Family Planning Board now presents a parenting tip from Andy Swithson. The sign of great parenting is not the child's behavior. The sign of truly great parenting is the parent's behavior.
Pedestrians, stay alert. Keep your head up and stay off the phone while crossing the road. Don't be a distracted walker. Every step matters. Look out before you step out. A message from the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport.
It's Wednesday, December 10th. In the headlines, the government has been forced to revise its fiscal targets. In business news, Jamaica Stock Exchange sees profit jump 17%. Regionally, Grenada and Guyana deepen bilateral ties. And in sports, West Indies all out for 205 in the second test against New Zealand. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The government has been forced to revise its fiscal targets for the current financial year as the country navigates the economic fallout of Hurricane Melissa. Finance Minister Favour Williams reported to Parliament on Tuesday that the fiscal balance, which had been projected at zero, essentially a balanced budget, has now been adjusted.
Whereas the second supplementary budget was projected to be in balance, the preliminary assessment is for the central government to now generate a fiscal deficit of 3.5%. The debt ratio is now projected to increase to 68.2% of GDP for this fiscal year.
Minister Williams also confirmed a sharp downgrade in the country's growth outlook.
As we go forward, we're expecting recovery in our GDP. We are expecting projects to pick up. We're expecting economic activity, and you can see the trajectory for our debt to GDP in these papers. So we're expecting to begin to see a decline again in the debt to GDP.
The economy, previously expected to expand by 2.2%, is now projected to contract by 4.3%. Additionally, the government will temporarily relax the fiscal rules for 1 year to allow for a lower primary surplus.
The surplus represents the funds allocated for debt servicing. According to Minister Williams, reducing the target will provide the fiscal flexibility needed to support national recovery and reconstruction efforts. Members of the parliamentary opposition on Tuesday pressed Finance Minister Favour Williams for clarity on the government's $150 million loan to the Jamaica Public Service Company. The exchange unfolded during the Standing Finance Committee's review of the third supplementary estimates for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, which include a major loan provision for JPS to accelerate post-Hurricane restoration works. Opposition member Damian Crawford sought clarification regarding the loan's interest rate.
The JPS loan that was given by the Ministry of Finance, do you have the current interest rate that was agreed to?
5.5%.
Mr. Crawford also asked if the loan would impact the government's ability to fund other restoration programs.
It does not. We have ample liquidity to manage what we, set out to do this fiscal year.
The debate broadened when Westmoreland Eastern Member of Parliament, Dr. Dayton Campbell, sought clarity on the full cost of repairing JPS's network after Hurricane Melissa battered sections of the island on October 28.
What is the sum that is required by JPS to restore electricity to all of the persons who are currently affected?
So the Minister of Energy has indicated $150 million.
So that means that the $350 million is to restore and?
Those are details that we don't have. JPS would be the entity that would answer those questions as to the details.
When pressed further, Minister Williams reiterated that, according to the Energy Minister, Daryl Vaz, $150 million was the figure required to meet the immediate restoration target. She argued that she could not provide all the detailed figures requested, stressing that Jamaica Public Service is a private company. As the government continues its restoration efforts, some 300 linesmen, along with their specialized equipment, have been mobilized to provide additional service to those working to restore electricity in the West. Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport, Daryl Vaz, gave the update during Wednesday's post-cabinet press brief.
The barges with specialized equipment are expected to arrive prior to Christmas. The latest information I have, Minister Dixon, is that linesmen will start arriving here as early as this weekend ahead of the equipment, which we hope will dock sometime late next week into next weekend.
China's advanced naval hospital ship, the Silk Road Ark, is now in Port Royal after treating almost 2,000 patients in Montego Bay. The ship will serve Kingston and surrounding communities over the next 3 days. Government officials, including Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton and Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, toured the vessel this week. Dr. Tufton said the ship will offer outpatient care, diagnostics, and elective surgeries before moving on to Falmouth. Lenita Rodney reports.
Senator Johnson-Smith says the visit highlights strong health cooperation between Jamaica and China, from COVID-19 support to major hospital projects. China's Ambassador Wang Jingfeng says the vessel has 300 beds and around 100 medical professionals. In Montego Bay, the team treated nearly 2,000 patients and completed 277 surgeries. The mission comes as Jamaica's health system continues to recover from Hurricane Melissa, which damaged facilities in the West and increased patient load in the corporate area. Opposition spokesperson on health, Dr. Alfred Dawes, describes it as a great help.
So the fact that we can have this ship immediately significantly improve our capacity
I think it has about 6 operating theaters on board. You can do multiple surgeries with different specialties.
Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton describes it as a highly sophisticated floating hospital.
Coming into Kingston now from Montego Bay, we expect a similar level of support. And it's helping the cause because it's clearing up backlogs and supporting Jamaicans who need that support. So we think it's very significant.
The extended mission will provide support to Kingston-based hospitals, which are currently managing increased patient loads resulting from self-referrals and transfers from the Western region.
Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, here to bring you the stories shaping the financial world and guiding your journey to smarter business decisions. Let's dive into the top lines. The Jamaica Stock Exchange says it realized net profits of 416.5 million Jamaican dollar on a 17% jump in its revenues to $2.3 billion during the 9-month period, which ended on September 30 this year. Stephen Whittingham, chairman of the company and CEO Livingston Morrison, says the group's performance was fair during the period given the challenging market conditions. This compares with $364.4 million on revenues of $2 billion during the corresponding period last year. Whittingham and Morrison suggested that a significant improvement in the group's financial performance will require more activities from investors and companies in the market. The company's total assets rose by $247.8 million to $3.6 billion this year, primarily due to an increase in its holdings of repurchase agreements. For the trading period ending December 9, 2025, these were the most actively traded stocks. JMMB Group Limited, 9.5% stock with 6,862,767 units, representing 25.93% of market sales volume. Kintyre Holdings Jamaica Limited with 2,664,273 units, representing 10.07% of market sales volume. Elite Diagnostic Limited with 2,556,701 units, representing 9.66% of market sales volume. We now shift our focus to the Forex market rate set by the Bank of Jamaica. On December 9, 2025, the Bank of Jamaica reported US $47.98 million purchased and US $72.64 million sold by Forex traders. Forex traders earned $1.85 per dollar, selling the US at $159.29 and buying the US at $161.14. The Canadian dollar netted Forex traders 71 cents per transaction, with selling at $116.71 and buying at $116. The British pound yielded Forex traders $2.56 in profits, with selling at $212.77 and buying at $210.21. For our credit report tip of the day, as you move through your holiday errands and gift shopping, this is the perfect moment to take charge of your credit instead of letting the season drain your momentum. Make your year-end to-do list work for you. Download the free credit report, scan every line for outdated details or suspicious activity, and call your bank's customer service team immediately to correct anything that doesn't look right. Channel any bonus or extra income straight into lowering balances. Set firm spending limits before you head into any celebration, and lock in your bill payments so that nothing slips through the cracks. When you act decisively, December becomes more than a festive season. It becomes a power move that strengthens your credit and positions you to hit January running. Our funded and focused feature, a powerful incubator or accelerator, gives participants something priceless: momentum. Instead of guessing their way through business setup, money management, and funding strategy, founders move through each stage with pace, clarity, and confidence. The return on investment shows up fast. Legal structures completed, finances cleared up, bank accounts opened, and funding opportunities identified. It's the difference between sitting on a great idea and actually building a business that earns, attracts capital, and gets noticed. For women founders especially, the payoff is exciting. Real progress, real traction, and a business that's finally moving the way they always knew it could. And that wraps up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, reminding you that every financial decision is a step toward your future. Until next time, stay focused, stay informed, and keep striving for success. See you soon.
In regional news, Grenada and Guyana are strengthening ties with both countries, looking to deepen cooperation in food security and tourism. Speaking at the opening of Grenada's new consulate in Georgetown, President Dr. Mohammed Ifran Ali highlighted plans for joint tourism packages and a long-term food supply agreement, while Grenada's Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell says the move signals a more deliberate push to expand political and economic partnerships with Guyana.
Grenada and Guyana are set to explore deeper coordination in food security and tourism, according to Guyanese President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, who was speaking at the opening of the Grenada consulate in Georgetown, Guyana on Monday. Guyana's Department of Public Information reported that President Ali has identified tourism as a promising area for further collaboration, proposing multi-destination tourism packages that combine Grenada's marine attractions with Guyana's ecotourism products. President Ali also revealed that Guyana hopes to reach a long-term food supply agreement with Grenada next year, highlighting the potential for joint investment in Grenada's spice industry. In his remarks at the opening ceremony, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell said Grenada is taking action to enhance its relationship with Guyana, recognizing the country's role as a regional leader.
We are taking far more concrete and deliberate steps to ensure that we foster closer diplomatic, political, and economic ties on a bilateral level with Guyana. I don't need to talk about what is happening here. I think we all know. And so the immense opportunities that are available for enhancing the economic partnership within CARICOM, led by Guyana, is something that we should continue to champion, and it is something that we should continue to promote.
The Prime Minister congratulated Guyanese businessman Dr. Kamal Singh, who was appointed as Grenada's honorary consul in Guyana.
I want to congratulate Kamal. The presence of so many people here are testimony to your character, testimony to your hard work, a testimony to your success. And I really could think of no better representation for Grenada in Guyana than. Thank you very much and congratulations.
The establishment of Grenada's consulate continues a trend of deepening ties between the two countries. In 2024, direct flights between St. George's and Georgetown were launched via Inter-Caribbean Airlines. Over the past year, Guyana has awarded several scholarships to Grenadians to pursue agricultural studies at the Guyana School of Agriculture. Reporting for GBN News, I am Deidre Seeley.
In Antigua and Barbuda, VC Bird Day on Tuesday provided an opportunity for the nation to reflect on the life and preeminent contribution of the father of the nation, Sir Vere Cornwall Bird Sr. The highlight of the day was a commemoration and wreath-laying ceremony at the bust honoring Sir Vere in St. John's. Ursel Charles Jr. reports.
Respect paid in earnest as officials laid wreaths at the VC Bird bust on the commemoration of VC Bird Day early Tuesday. One by one, they paid homage to the country's first and only premier, first Prime Minister, first national hero, and first recipient of the Order of the Caribbean Community Award. Severe's fierce patriotism and commitment to the working class are legendary. as was his dedication to regionalism. He was the perennial integrationist, leading the introduction of the Caribbean Free Trade Association CARIFTA, precursor to CARICOM. Foreign Affairs Minister, the Honorable E.P. Chet Green, outlined why Sevier continues to be revered.
Champion the cause of workers, fighting for better pay, abolition of child labor, and dignity for all workers.
Minister Green also chronicles how the late Sir V.C. embodied the long tradition of outstanding and dedicated political leadership in Antigua and Barbuda with forward thinking.
He did not simply manage a colony. He envisioned and constructed a state for its people. On his leadership, we saw the introduction of free secondary school education, free medical services, opening doors of opportunity while safeguarding health for every Antiguan and Barbudan citizen. There is no denying that under Sevier, there was economic transformation. It was with great foresight that he engineered the shift from a sugar-dependent plantation economy to a modern tourism-driven one.
And for this reason, grandson Sean Bird is staunchly defending a day specifically dedicated to honoring Sevier Cornwall Bird's indelible contributions.
VC is and was the foundation. The idea that you could have a hero's day and you want to put VC Bird like everybody else is sacrilege. And I'm going to tell you why. There's a lack of respect that is among us.
The celebratory was also marked by musical presentations.
Everyone in this world has their own part to play, that's true. So I will give it my very best try to make sure at the end of my life that I die as a hero like you.
Whether you refer to him as Sevier, Sir VC, Father of the Nation, or affectionately as Papa Bird, he remains responsible for guaranteeing many of the civil and human rights we all enjoy today. For ABS News, I'm Ursula Charles Jr.
Trinidad and Tobago's agriculture, food processing, and manufacturing industries are poised to benefit greatly from a relationship with counterparts in India. This partnership was set in motion on Tuesday, with a number of stakeholders participating in a seminar hosted by the High Commission of India, the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, and the National Agricultural Marketing and Development Corporation, titled Exploring Opportunities with India, Agriculture and Food Processing.
Trinidad and Tobago maintains a $7.3 billion food import bill. In an effort to bring this figure down and empower farmers, food processors, manufacturers, and others within the agriculture industry, a partnership has been formed, focused on education, connection, innovation, technology, and growth. The High Commission of India, in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and the National Agricultural Marketing and Development Corporation, NAMDEVCO, hosted a seminar titled Exploring Opportunities with India, Agriculture and Food Processing. High Commissioner of India to Trinidad and Tobago, Pradeep Rajpurit, explained the success India has had in agriculture and food processing, noting that Trinidad and Tobago has all the variables needed for equal success.
The amount of cultivation here, the potential is immense. I see that you have some of the world-class products. Your Julie mango alone, and I said before also, can transform the agriculture and food processing industry. Whosoever has tasted Julie, I mean, we are a mango country. We don't have this kind of mango. Your pineapples are one of the best. You have dragon fruits. Your papaya is one of the best. It just needs some more modification of technologies.
Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Ravi Ratiram said the seminar is another link in the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago and India. The minister recalled the handing over of US $1 million worth of agri-processing equipment in July 2025, noting this investment is just part of the strategy for empowering the industry.
Today's seminar is not simply an event. It is a step forward in building a modern and diversified agricultural economy that Trinidad and Tobago has longly yearned for. It is something that has been waiting on for the longest while, because from time after time we would have heard about the diversification of our economy. Well, this year is an ideal opportunity to place agriculture once more at the center of the diversification of our economy.
He encouraged all stakeholders to continue innovating, using technology and capitalizing on partnerships to ensure a strong, profitable industry.
Agricultural transformation requires collaboration across the government, private sector, academia, and farming communities. It requires all hands getting on board. No man is an island, and we all need to work together and integrate that strategy in developing our food security and developing our agriculture sector.
The end result is a resilient sector that supports the farmer, enhances food security, and contributes to national development for future generations. Ayana Carter, TTT News.
In sports, we spotlight cricket. New Zealand fought back to claim first day honours in the second test against West Indies in Wellington. The day ended with West Indies all out for 205 and New Zealand are 24 for none and trailed by 181 runs. The home side suffered a blow when seam bowler Blair Tickner was taken to hospital with a nasty shoulder injury. Cricket West Indies President Dr. Kishore Shallow says head coach Darren Sammy is not facing dismissal despite the team's poor run since Sammy took charge in April. The West Indies have struggled across formats, losing Test series to Australia and India and winning only a handful of T20 and one international matches. But Dr. Shallow says the coach's future will not depend on the ongoing New Zealand series, stressing that injuries and long-standing structural issues are bigger factors than coaching. He admits he is disappointed with recent performances, but says the problems facing West Indies cricket go back decades. Dr. Shallow insists the organization is focused on rebuilding systems, improving infrastructure, and stabilizing finances, noting the turning of the program around will take time, not knee-jerk reactions. And that's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBC Jamaica. Thank you so much for watching.
Out of the ashes, Jamaica will rise. With God as our Father, great storms will survive. Our prayers unite us to soar to new heights. With our hearts together, we'll win. We will rise. We will rise. With the strength of a lion, we will wings of an eagle, we will rise. Our faith has grown stronger in truth and in grace. When challenges face us, we'll never be faced. Praise boldly to God from above, and He who is faithful shows mercy and love. We will rise with the strength of a lion. We will rock Jamaica. No matter the season, our sails will remain, and we will ride. We will ride with the strength of a lion. We will ride. We will ride Jamaica with the wings of an eagle. No matter the season, our sails will remain, and we will rise. We will Jamaica rise. With the wings of an eagle, we will rise.
Zoom in on the nutrition facts. By the side of the back, you can check on servings. Close with the mats, not taking too much, finger below the facts. Zoom in on the nutrition facts. Side of the back, take note. Sodium, the sugars and the fats by percent and listen up on the right track. You can zoom in on the nutrition facts. In the table on the side of the back. Vitamins, minerals and vitamin 2, 20% and more than that good for you. You can zoom in. Check the nutrition facts. Check the nutrition facts. Check the nutrition facts. Less sugar, less salt intake and less fat.
Message from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Jamaica Moves, the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, the National Health Fund, and Japan.
Motorists, as Minister of Justice, I appeal to you, obey the road code, pay your ticket on time, and only go to court if the ticket is being contested. Close to 80% of matters coming to the parish courts are for traffic breaches. Let's work together to make our roads safe and ease the burden on our courts.
24 Snails present Cecil and Pepper Discover the Olympics.
Freestyle skiing. A steep slope full of moguls, and even a jumping bridge? Absolutely, this is the newest Olympic sport, moguls, or the freestyle downhill run, one of the many events of so-called freestyle skiing. Moguls, aerials, ski ballet and ski cross come under the banner freestyle skiing. And newer events are still being added. Hop, 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 such a pace! And the jump, that really turned out well. And the joy at the finish, not just the competitors. Also, women do freestyle skiing, but they are not fragile types. They have to be in condition, and the head works also. It looks for the best way between the moguls. That's it, super! The overall technique of the ride, jump forms, and of course the time are judged on moguls. And now pay attention, a change of event. Take note that the skier does not have any ski poles. The slope does not have any moguls. But the jump is bigger. And the jump, that's something. It's not the length of the jump, which is judged during aerials, but this is those acrobatic elements that are made by the skier. Flips, twists, and somersaults. This is unbelievable. Fly in the air and turn simultaneously. Where's the sky and where's the ground?
and even to land correctly. That's something, right? But before such a freestyle skier gets onto the snow, he has to practice and practice. Gymnastics, trampoline, water jumps. Top skiers also practice in the summer. They jump off special jumps into the swimming pool. The judge assesses the jump takeoff, jump form, and the landing. My head got tangled up by all this. What about yours?
Peace begins with us. Every act of kindness, every step towards understanding brings us closer to a brighter tomorrow. Let's choose unity, compassion, and hope. Together, we can build a future where peace reigns.
Tomorrow starting today.
BGLC, the regulator, everybody. We regulate, you play without worry. We regulate, you play. BGLC, fair play when you play. For the fun of the game, you know when they are. BGLC, keep it the player. You play the game and we are the rule setter. Keep everything fair so the game play. Betting, gaming and lotteries commission. We ensure fairness, integrity and responsible gaming practices. Keep the game fair and fun for everyone. We regulate, you play.
Spain. Just a bit bigger than California, but extremely diverse. It sits on the Iberian Peninsula, isolated by the Pyrenees, yet is still very connected to the rest of Europe. Its 5 official languages and 17 autonomous regions have launched so many artistic movements and superstars. Famous artists like Picasso, Dalí, Miro, and Gaudi all called Spain home. With so much diversity in geography, culture, and language, what is it exactly about Spain that fosters so much innovation? I'm Nate, an artist and world traveler who is fascinated by all the places and ways we see creativity. From the old masters to today's graffiti artists, creativity weaves itself through history, and we want to figure out where is it coming from. From cutting-edge design, the technology that impacts our lives every day. Wherever you see creativity and innovation, I'll be there. That's outrageous. Small as it is, Spain welcomes more than 82 million tourists each year, making it the second most visited country in the world, with the US a distant third. It's easy to see why. With more than 320 days of sunshine a year, plus mountains and beaches, who wouldn't want to live here? It makes sense that life in Spain happens outdoors. It's like a painting, like right there. And Spanish art seems to reflect this. I'm heading to the mountains and caves of northern Spain to see how the geography inspired Antoni Gaudi's masterpiece, La Sagrada Familia. I spent time in the area with Phil Miller, a Scottish mountaineer, ex-microbiologist, and resident donkey expert who made the area his home 20 years ago.
Spain is made up of lots of different little communities. One of those communities, Basque Country. I ended up here simply because I love mountains. I was driving over a pass looking for a place to kind of settle down and find work and stuff like that. And I just thought, wow, I could spend some years here. And 20 years later on, here I am.
It's the mountains, really. That's what catches me. And the culture, I find the culture very welcoming. That ridge, that's the Sierra de Cantabria. And on the other side of that is La Rioja. It's the important wine region.
That's right. We drove through there.
Yeah, I think it's very pretty.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And the nice thing about this area is that it's got lots of little villages. So although we were only 13 people in our village, there's actually a very good sense of community. Vamos, tira para allá.
You probably explored one of this area. You feel like
I keep discovering new things here.
Oh, I bet.
Because nowadays, in the wintertime, I go away with the donkeys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just load them up and off we go.
Oh yeah, this is the view.
Never work with children or animals, they say. So just tie him up here and we'll head on into the cave.
All right, come on. The dog's staying back?
Oh, he comes in sometimes.
Okay.
Okay, mind your step here, this first bit.
Immediate temperature change.
Oh yeah, big contrast. It's quite warm. It's fresh in here.
Yeah, it feels good.
Okay.
All right, I'm following you. So slide down. That was a close one.
Just watch it there because it's a little bit slippy.
Yeah, wet. Definitely slippy. What am I looking at when we look up here and you see it almost looks like white at the beginning of where it's dripping, I guess.
It's calcium carbonate which turns into calcite, which is soluble calcite.
Okay.
Acids to these things. Actually here you've got some examples of what soda straw. The thing with limestone is that it dissolves water and then it seeps through the pores of the rocks. It's a little hole. It drips. It drips. Calcium carbonate precipitates and forms a stalagmite. Or in this case, a stalagmite. The ends are full of plastic.
So God, he's coming out here, he's trekking on a horse, coming into caves similar to this one, I'm sure, just in the area.
Yeah.
Sagrada Familia. It does look very organic. Especially the top, almost looks like a stalagmite growing. I mean, it seems obvious, but man, when you come in here, you see it like clear as a bell. Like where, I mean, if you spend time in here, it makes you think it's inspired. What gets me is, obviously, Barcelona, Madrid, these big cities, super loud, bustling, and then you've got this like organic shape in the middle of this massive city, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's almost like bringing something deep. The spires and the towers that are so continuously working. When you were pointing out the stalactites, like even how small they are, I mean, it looks exactly like it's a massive texture. I mean, it's weird to see on a church that's not smooth and it's rough and it looks like a cave.
Yeah.
Having seen where Gaudi was inspired, I headed to Barcelona to get a closer look at his most famous work, La Sagrada Familia. 140 years after construction started, it's still not finished. Gaudi didn't know it was going to take forever. He had a school built on the grounds for the workers' kid. Today, the workers look quite different than they did years ago. Instead of chisels and hammers, La Sagrada Familia's team now works in a design lab with state-of-the-art technology.
This is the remaining of the continuation of the artistic workshop that worked in the old times.
So you have moved from, you see it all in here, clay,
Yeah. Still working in plaster. We make molds, silicone molds and all this. But we have added the new technologies of 3D printers.
That's amazing. I love it. It's old but new.
It's
all in one room.
And we are combining because this kind of printers use a material which is very similar to plaster. This one is from the 3D printers.
That's from a 3D printer.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
The process begins in the technical office with the architects, and they make the designs. Obviously, they have the knowledge of the building, of the history, of the documents they need. They send an STL file. An STL file is a file translated to the language of the machine,
Wow.
the language, the 3D language. It works like a printer. Yeah. Just makes a sheet of powder, and
then another one,
draws, and then the machine calculates how many sheets, and
this does it come in the morning, and it's there.
Exactly. Yeah. It's there, but you have to extract.
These pieces are very creative, and they look new, like someone just designed it.
Yeah.
But it was so long ago.
Yeah.
Still amazing.
For example, this one is a design from Gaudi.
Is that one thing that's strange, that you can design work here, step outside, and go see it? Wow, thank you so much for giving me just a glimpse of what you are doing down here in this workshop. It is absolutely amazing. After seeing how the work gets done in miniature, I was excited to get a look at the structure itself.
I would like to show you this facade, nativity facade, which is the only facade Gaudi saw back. Take a look at the facade. You can see nature all around. Gaudi always said that God created nature. So when he was building buildings, he wanted to imitate God's creation. He wanted to imitate nature.
It speaks to the organic. To your point of, he loved nature, being outside, did a lot of traveling on horseback, I heard, and he would take even inspiration from caves. And I feel like I see so much of that. Well, I gotta admit, the sun's up. I think I'm anxious to see all that stained glass and color there. Let's go check it out.
Let's get inside, mate. As you can see, the first thing that catches your attention you get inside Sagrada Familia is the amount of natural light. From outside, it looked dark and a bizarre church.
Like a dark cave.
Yeah, with those dark bell towers and that dark facade.
Yeah.
So you do not expect to see this amount of natural light and these colors inside Sagrada Familia. Take a look at the walls. Walls did not support any weight. The weight of the roof, the weight of the bell towers is supported by the columns, not by the walls. So Gaudi managed to open hundreds of windows and decorate those windows with colored stained glass decoration to allow the natural light in, but at the same time to change the color of the natural light and get inside the ground. This is an organic church. The colors going through the windows, they paint the colors of the roof depending on the location of the sun. The appearance of the interior of Sagrada Familia changes. From here we have a beautiful view of the central nave of Sagrada Familia. We can see cool colors, blue and green mainly. That side of the church faces east. It got morning light. Gaudi always said that morning light is a cool light. So he wanted cool colors decorating that side of the church.
Interesting.
That side of the church, you can see warm colors, orange, yellow, and red. It faces west. It gets afternoon light, which Gaudi always said is a warm light.
I think what's great is you get the white light up here, and it comes straight down the middle, and then it's color on both sides. It's incredible.
This building is alive.
Oh yeah, it feels like a kaleidoscope of. I mean, you got the blues right now, oranges in the afternoon. It's just, it's so much to take in. It makes you speechless. If you're not speechless, I don't think you're taking it in.
The roof was not built until 2010. Before 2010, this was an open courtyard. You could see the sky, you could see the clouds from here.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Take a look at the columns. Gaudi wanted the interior of Sagrada Familia to look like a forest. Every column is the trunk of a tree. If you follow the trunk of the tree, you'll see the nuts of the tree, the branches emerging from the nuts, and the leaves covering the church.
I mean, you look at that and you would think somebody designed this, what, 10 years ago? I mean, he was so far ahead of time.
Way ahead of his time.
Get a real sense, because we can get up just even a little higher, of the symmetry just coming down with those massive tree-like columns. Beautiful. We then headed up to the towers in an elevator installed specifically for the Pope to get a bird's eye view of the construction. Oh wow, look at this view.
4 bell towers are on Jesus' bell tower dedicated to the 4 evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So bell towers here are going to be way taller than the ones you see here. They're going to be almost twice the height of the ones you see here.
That's incredible.
Let's walk to Passion Facades. As you will see, Passion Facade is totally different from Nativity Facade.
Every single one of their faces, the lines are just so harsh on the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very dynamic.
The Cubist facade, probably. Jose Maria Subirachs was inspired by the Cubist paintings of Pablo Picasso.
I was gonna say, it's got cubism written all over it.
There was a big controversial decision to choose that sculpture. Still nowadays, there are a lot of people in Barcelona that say that they don't like this facade. They say it's too modern.
Too modern, interesting.
Sagrada Familia, it's not only a 20th century church, it's also a 21st century church. So I like this facade. And I think this facade balances very well the facade.
I would agree. There's so much creativity happening in Spain in the past, and you just showed me even just some of the influences from Picasso. I mean, where do you think all that comes from? What do you think about it?
Spain is a crisscross of different civilizations, cultures, religions. The Romans came to Spain 2nd century before Christ. Then the Moors came to Spain, the Visigoths, the Jews. Creativity comes from this crisscross melting pot of religions, civilizations, and cultures in a small area. When you think about Spain, 20th century, we have Pablo Picasso, we have John Miro, we have Antonio Gaudi, we have Pablo Casals, Barcelona. So it's a great place for art.
Yeah.
It's a crisscross between culture, this beautiful Mediterranean sun, location only 100 miles south of the French border, a big port.
Melting pot of
creativity. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love how the Basilica is bringing it literally all together in many ways. Wow, thanks for the tour. It was amazing. While Gaudi was dedicating the last years of his life to the Basilica, an eccentric boy was exploring nature in a town just north of Barcelona. He would later become one of the most recognized artistic icons of the 20th century with his killer handlebar mustache. Salvador Dali was one of 3 children and was named after his brother who died shortly before his birth. His parents were said to have taken young Salvador to his brother's grave, telling him he was the reincarnation of his brother. No pressure. Like many Spanish families, the Dalis had a weekend home. Theirs was in Caracas, just east of Figueras. Dali later moved into the town himself. He brought the nature around him into his home and studio, as I learned from Ana Massobrosa at Dali's former home.
When they first bought this place, it was in 1929. It would always just spend spring and summertime here until October, more or less. And then they would go to Paris and New York.
Okay, so they come back here,
Mhm.
relax. With obviously, we're going to see gorgeous views everywhere. That makes sense. Okay.
Relax, but also work.
That's work. Okay, all right.
Cadaqués, this area, was his main inspiration at a landscape level. So this is where he would produce. This light, this landscape would inspire him the most. So this was his working place, and then later in the evening he would greet people.
Okay.
But never inside the house. This was his very private space. Interesting. That's the Sagrada Familia, and you see other bottles as well. Those are liquor bottles that Dali and Gala would collect, and they had them there to offer or to have here in the dining area. Dali loved the kind of organic architecture that Gaudi did. Gaudi, and in general, all Art Nouveau modern style art.
Yeah.
Get it, but Gaudi is special.
I wondered if he might even just have an appreciation, for the organic shapes.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I mean, obviously they both loved color in interesting ways. But wow, that's cool. I know he was really proud to be from this area. Where did he get all the influence? I mean, is it creativity something that really, is it something that just always has been here, or he brought it here? I mean, what do you think?
Well, Dali was born in 1904 in Figueras, and Figueras was a very important cultural center. He had the right context to become a great artist. And many people were interested in art in general, yes? So they were creating and creating and creating.
Yeah.
Yes, and then here in Cadaqués, whenever he would come with his family, because they had a summer house, yes?
Right.
He met other artists, so he would interact. Okay, so now we're coming out in this inner courtyard
Which is beautiful out here.
that Dali designed, and in front of us we see these walls. They would be protected from this very strong wind that's
Yeah,
blowing.
you feel it. You probably hear it too. Yeah, it's very strong.
You see this window
The
framed in a way that actually looks like an artwork.
I literally was thinking, this is like a painting, like right there. It's so beautiful.
Okay, so now we are in this relaxing area.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. Look at the window. It looks like again another painting. And then here we see this.
Yeah.
This mirror.
What's with the mirror, which is not facing us whatsoever?
Yeah, with this very special angle. Dali designed it this way because in front of the mirror on the upper part, he's got his bed.
Oh, okay.
And right now we are in the most eastern part of Spain. Dali wanted to be the first person in Spain to see the sunrise.
So he's like, I am the first one.
There we go.
He's gonna see it every morning. I love it. Wow, this
Dali
really
and Gala-
opens up.
Yeah. It's wide and big.
Yeah, it's huge.
Here we see the two beds. The one on the left, that was Dali's bed. In fact, that bed is facing that mirror.
Oh, yeah, now I get it. You can see that direct line from that mirror. Yeah.
Correct. So now we are going to see his final workshop,
Oh my goodness.
which is
Okay, so window everywhere now.
frame windows. Looks like
Oh, it's
a
beautiful.
painting once again.